This man single-handedly resisted tens of thousands of dungeon demon troops, just to create a retreat event for the surviving companions. Facing the horde of monsters surging like a tide, the man stood firm, blocking the entrance to the dungeon without hesitation. When the gate of the underground city closed, he never came back. Before the dungeon appeared, humans do not know. The creators of civilization on Earth are not only humans. Due to continuous human exploitation of the Earth, this caused the subterranean people, who originally lived underground, to break through the seal. Facing the sudden invasion of the subterranean civilization, humanity faces a crisis of extinction. Although humans immediately launched a counterattack, but no human weapons were able to inflict any effective damage on them, and they rely on mysterious powers. It makes the military weapons that humans are proud of useless. Just as humanity was on the verge of extinction, a turning point emerged. The mysterious power possessed by the subterranean people. It starts to affect humans. A very small number of affected humans have become entirely new beings wielding mysterious powers. He is called Superman. These newly empowered humans began their counteroffensive against the subterranean civilization. The underground cities of the subterranean civilization were being destroyed one by one. Humanity reignited the flames of hope. In the spring of 2005, humanity arrived at the entrance of the last underground city. The 7 most powerful supermen in the world gathered together. They conquered the last distance of the underground civilization, ended this protracted war. Their military achievements were outstanding, known as the 7 heroes who saved humanity. Humankind has bestowed upon them endless wealth and glory. The only survivor was Shimin Yi, the leader of the 7 heroes. He did not live to see this day and enjoy everything he deserved. The living heroes became stars, and the dead hero became a myth. 17 years later, inside the international war competition arena between Gua and Bigua, a man is representing Bigua, engaging in frenetic money squandering on the competition field. As the man landed gracefully, he achieved the first solo 6 kill in the history of the International League. He is the strongest Superman in the history of war and turmoil, ranked among the top 3, that single honor. Looking at the remaining athletes for the country, only Bai Xiaoyan, one of the 7 great heroes, facing a predictable match. Bai Xiaoyan resolutely charged forward, preparing to use her specialty from the sidelines to face off against the opponent. As the attack drew closer, the atmosphere in the arena was extremely tense. But the next second, the man turned into a shadow and attacked. He instantly arrived behind Bai Xiaoyan. He defeated it with just 1 blow. Is this the so-called daughter of the 7 heroes? How laughable. With the appearance of MVP, the second game was ended by Baigua team's inner singles in one breath. Baiguadui lost 0-2 to Baiguadui. Who could have imagined? Nation A, where countless dungeons were crushed during the dungeon era and transepical supermen emerged one after another. It has now become a country that has failed to keep pace with the times. Even my sister joked that without Ximenyan, country A would be completely defenseless. With the crushing defeat of the match, online, overwhelming abuse arose. Is this still the country that gave birth to Ximenyan and Bai Jihu? The crowd in the stadium shouted, demanding a refund. They couldn't accept paying to watch such a lousy match. At this time, Bai Jihu was the head coach. Watching the players he has trained, showed a difficult expression. The former superheroes of Country A were known for their superior intellect. Is it really a slump? Looking at the photos of former friends on the wall, Bai Jihu sighed. Then he closed his eyes. It was time to apologize to the people of the whole country. Then turned around and left. To avoid ruining his glorious ceremony here, he decided to resign as head coach. At this moment, the phone in his chest suddenly rang. He thought the president was calling to scold him. Unexpectedly, the next sentence completely shocked Bai Jihu. It was just now, a crack appeared in the sky. A man in armor fell from it. Everyone crowded around. They found. This man is the hero who sacrificed himself alone 17 years ago. As the man slowly ground his body, Shimin Yan is back alive. When he woke up again, he was already in a hospital bed. He was surprised to find that it was already 2020. Miss Story immediately saw his confusion. He immediately turned on the TV. At this moment, the TV is broadcasting news about him. Shimin Yan, the captain of the 7 heroes who was thought to be dead. He miraculously survived after 17 years and is currently receiving treatment in the hospital. According to eyewitnesses, Mr. Shimin Yan fell from the sky and landed in front of his own statue. Moreover, he is still wearing the equipment from when he entered the last dungeon in 2005. Although he is Superman, after 17 years, his appearance still hasn't changed a bit. Regarding this situation, some experts speculate that he may have experienced a spatio-temporal anomaly. He hurriedly looked at the mirror beside him and found that he really hadn't aged at all. I can't help but wonder if I've actually traveled through time. So this world really is the world 17 years later? Shimin Yen looked at the large crowd of reporters below. Can't help but complain that even after 17 years, these guys haven't changed a bit. The next second, he nervously questioned the nurse about his current assets. When he learned that all his property had been donated to the children's institution. The villa where she lived has also become a museum for workers to visit. When the luxury cars under her name were sold at exorbitant prices by charities. He regretted not having kept a little something back then. After the nurse went out, he prepared to check his physical condition. He had blue light in his eyes. He used his own analytical ability, and it was because of this ability that he became the world's strongest Superman. It can not only see the existing capabilities of the observation target. You can also learn about your future potential. Thanks to him, Shimin Yi was able to grow so quickly, and he became the captain leading the dungeon counterattack early on. Even Bai Ji, who later became one of the 7 heroes. Also because she was discovered and trained by his analytical acting. He looked at his ability values on the system panel, and was surprised to find his willpower actually exceeded 100. Because the limit that humans can reach is only 100. Not only that, he also gained a new superpower, immortality. Its effect is that he is immune to death caused by physical impact. He couldn't help but recall the battle in the dungeon. Just then, a knock on the door interrupted him. The person who came was Bai Jihu, one of the 7 heroes, and also his best brother. Bai Jihu looked at his living brother and couldn't help but shed tears of excitement. From the mouth of Bai Jihu, her story was made into a movie. It also topped the global box office. Looking at all the new things in front of me, Shimen Yi felt it was too real. Because she was supposed to die in the dungeon. Opening his eyes, he found himself in the hospital. Mingming saved the whole world, but in the end, she became a homeless entrepreneur. To encourage him, Bai Jihu said, "Don't forget you have friends. Just ask if you need money." When he learned that Bai Jihua was the national team's head coach, he couldn't help but feel curious. He took the phone that Bai Jihu handed him. Looking at the battle scene like an underground city. "I can't help but wonder, isn't this the dungeon we attacked before? Hasn't the dungeon already been eliminated?" Bai Jihu said that because there was no place for superhumans after the war, humans built dungeons in virtual reality, and used them as arenas, holding sports competitions that pit nations against each other. Among the top-ranked players, there are several whose skills are not inferior to the 7 heroes. Moreover, the World Cup of the Battlefield of Fire and Cloud is a famous term. It relates to the ease of a country. When Shimen Yi learned that his country ranked last, I couldn't believe it. What? After the war ended, the superhumans became idle. The higher-ups started to feel threatened by the superhumans' immense power. Therefore, all of Gokaren who originally had some strength have emigrated overseas. Bai Jihu wanted to take advantage of the weak domestic players and trick Shimen Yi into joining the national team. Before Bai Jihu could speak, Shimen Yi made a move. Don't, because he doesn't want to be Superman anymore. His Superman career was long ago in the last underground city. Perfect envy. Bai Jihu was about to retort that it was just a sports competition. But then came Shimen Yi's turn. Do you think I'm someone who fights for others? The question left Bai Jihu speechless. He just wants to live for himself now. Because if he takes action, the media would then praise him as the hero of the country. He didn't want to live his life depending on others anymore. He felt like a clown. At this moment, Shimen Yi suddenly noticed. The poster in the distance prominently featured a Superman with a hot body. I was just about to make a joke about how Superman from my country hasn't disappeared yet when my best friend told me. This is his daughter. Shimen Yi was almost choked to death. Because in his memory, Xia Yan, the daughter of Bai Jihu, should be only 6 years old. Bai Jihu Lian Ni Yao Gan Dong Y Si Xiang Wa Jiu Gan Lini De Bia Qing Shuozha. It has been 17 years. Xia Yan is now 23 years old. As the destination is reached, coming out to greet him was Bai Jihu's wife. Looking at the warm scene in front of him, Shimen Yi was sure that he had really come back alive. In this peaceful world without dungeons or battles, Shimen Yi didn't know what to do anymore. When he saw the 17-year-old TV series, when the replay starts, he trembled with excitement. That's right, I came back alive for this. So he decided to stay home. TV series not watched in 17 years. All of them, one by one. Bai Jihua was so scared that he hurriedly ran over. Because if Shimen Yi keeps staying inside, reporters outside the door will wait there every day. Looking out the door, there was a sea of people. Shimen Yi shook his head, sighing. What a bunch of troublesome guys. To get them out of their lives, Shimen Yi decided to hold a press conference tomorrow. Amidst countless cameras, Shimen Yi, wearing pajamas, slowly walked onto the stage. He then showed an impatient expression, as if to say, "Ask all your questions at once today. Never follow me again." Then came a lot of painstaking explanations. The reporters present were silent as they pressed forward. "This is a bald man, not afraid of death, who asked, 'Will you represent a country to participate in the War of Fire and Clouds competition?' Just when everyone was anxiously expecting Shi Men-yi to become furious. He only answered indifferently. Not interested at all. The bald man asked with a mocking smile, 'Are you lacking confidence?' But the next second, Shi Men-yi corrected her. 'You're missing your hair, aren't you?' Yin-ge and the others burst into laughter. Then he left behind a sentence. 'I hope everyone will stop bothering me from now on.' She turned and left. At this moment, a man with glasses hurriedly stopped him. 'Before you leave, I want to ask one last question. Yesterday, Gerald, the strongest man in the empire, commented on Mr. Shi Men-yi, saying, "The 7 heroes are just like a straight tiger, one punch can knock them down." What are your thoughts on this?' Shi Men-yi was instantly interested. Was this young man the most skilled one? As the bespectacled man said, "Compared to the 3 giants, Gerard is still the ugliest. I thought it would be interesting, but it turned out to be a jumping clown. Tell him, if he's not even as good as the 3 greats, then he should just shut up and stay put. If you really want a one-on-one fight, then don't hide in the flames of war. Let him come to me. I will bury him in the backyard with my own hands." At this moment, Shi Men-yi didn't know that Gerald was sitting in front of the TV, enjoying his operation. He crushed the remote control in anger. Then she turned around and instructed her subordinates. "Book me a flight to the United States. Immediately." However, because Shi Men-yi is not a player of Manhwa Fengyan, he could only take the patriotic professional team out. Bai Ji-hu is the head coach. He was about to cry. Shi Men-yi only poops and doesn't wipe. Provoked Gerard and then ignored him. Shi Men-yi didn't care at all. Even if the sky fell, it couldn't stop him from watching the drama. Then he suddenly thought of something. Since it was a national team competition, would his niece Bai Xiaoyan also participate? He had just finished speaking. Bai Xiaoyan returned. He heard that the legendary uncle of that year had returned to Earth. So he hurried back. The moment I saw Shi Men-yi again, he instantly transformed into Xiao and I Mei. He tackled Shi Men-yi to the ground. Shi Men-yi's face turned red. "Xiao Yan, you are so grown up." Bai Xiaoyan also nestled happily in Shi Men-yi's arms, acting coquettishly. Then Shi Men-yi asked him if he would come back to participate in the national competition. Xia Yan said she mainly came to see her uncle. He leaned closer to Shi Men-yi. "Ask him if he wants to participate in War and Fire." Shi Men-yi pointed to the TV series beside him and said he had many formal requirements. So the next second, Bai Xiaoyan began to act cute and even complained that his uncle had changed. He would always satisfy himself, no matter how many times he wanted to. Shi Men-yi looked speechless. "I think you are the one who is being unreasonable." Xia Yan saw that being coquettish had no effect. He then suggested that Shi Men-yi accompany him to test the clone. Looking at his niece's appealing eyes, Shi Men-yi felt helpless. He could only agree to Xia Yan. Then, the two of them went to the Transcendent Association. Under the guidance of the staff, Bai Xiaoyan changed her clothes and entered the virtual cabin. Here, Shi Men-yi also learned how the flames of war operate. Superhumans choose weapons through virtual cabins and fight monsters in the virtual world. After witnessing Bai Xiaoyan's strength, Shi Men-yi gave him a hypocritical compliment, and said that this level is already very good for a 6-year-old. Bai Xiaoyan was so angry that she let her uncle try it too, and Shi Men-yi told him that he didn't play Manhwa Fengyan. Xia Yan pointed at him and said, "Who told you to play?" Shi Men-yi had a helpless look. "For the sake of your pleading, let's just test it once." Quickly, under the staff's guidance, Shi Men-yi is ready to fight. War and turmoil. Let me see what you really are today. A woman's coquetry. A man's soul is drifting. Shi Men-yi would rather die than play War and Fire. Under the relentless coaxing of his niece, he entered the virtual cabin. With data transmission completed, Shi Men-yi came to the virtual space. The familiar feeling is like being back in the dungeon. After contacting the staff, Shi Men-yi asked them to just give him a whole fire. As the staff pressed the button, a one-eyed serpent appeared in front of Shi Men-yi. The staff told Bai Xiaoyan that this monster has the strongest willpower in the current database, but they don't know how long it will take Shi Men-yi to defeat it. At this moment, in the virtual space, the monster was quickly attacking Shi Men-yi. However, Shi Men-yi didn't even blink. He threw the weapon in his hand away. "What's going on? This weapon is not for nothing, is it?" As he spoke, he extended his finger. He flicked his forehead. Under the violent explosion, the monster instantly vanished into thin air. This scene directly stunned the two people outside the arena. Bai Xiaoyan knew that her uncle was very strong. Unexpectedly, she is so ridiculously strong. Shi Men-yi lightly and calmly told the people outside not to make a fuss. He asked the staff to bring him another one. He had something to test. Soon a new Saliban was reborn. However, right at this moment, a strange sound suddenly resounded. As the strongest on Earth, how could a mere Saliban satisfy you? Shimin Yi was still wondering who was speaking when the outside system sent out an alarm. Not good. Someone is trying to invade here from an external module. With a blazing fire, a fully armed man charged into the virtual space. You said I could come to you. Does it still count? The person who came was Gerald, whom Shimin Yi had provoked before. Gerard, looking at the constant shouting, said nothing. This action made the other party think they were being looked down upon. So without a word, she launched an attack toward the opponent. However, his axe was clearly about to hit the opponent. But the next second it fell short. Right at the moment when Gerard was still surprised. A chilling voice echoed from behind him. Do you think I'm scared? You're joking. It's finally a chance to test against a worthy opponent. How could I easily let you go? This bald man only heard the male lead's voice and number on TV. The result followed the network cable and found Shimin Yi in the virtual space. When she saw Gerard again, Shimin Yi's face was full of excitement. Right now, I'm lacking a sparring partner. However, at this moment, Bai Xiaoyan and the staff outside the field were all puzzled. Why was a perfectly good server invaded by the Empire's supernatural fingers? But this actually benefited Lin Juntai, the president of the Supernatural Association. Bai Xiaoyan's father, Bai Jihu, was also an accomplice. They wanted to use this opportunity to spark Shimin Yi's interest in the turbulent world of war. At this time in the virtual space, Shimin Yi had already figured out Gerard's strength through tentative attacks. But for a more precise understanding, Shimin Yi activated his analytical eyes. He found that Gerard's other attributes besides speed were all above 80. Even his muscles and endurance have reached the upper limit of 100. He was simply born for hardship. Shimin Yi couldn't help but sigh. If he had met this guy 17 years ago, he might have taken him to the final dungeon. Thinking back to the superpower I gained in the hospital before, Shimin Yi originally wanted to find a monster to try it out. Now that he has encountered a bald man, then use him to try it. Thinking of this, Shimin Yi picked up his weapon and charged forward. Gerard looked disdainful. Just this kind of move? I can see it with my bladder. Saying that, he swung the axe down. But the next second he was stunned. Why does the other party not have to? This is not scientific. And at this time, Shimin Yi was looking at him with an evil smile. Let me open your eyes and let you know what Xiao is. As the axe fell, Shimin Yi was completely buried in the ground. The people outside, like Bai Xiaoyan, were all shocked. They couldn't understand if Shimin Yi was starting another performance. Gerard also lowered his head fiercely. Why didn't he move just now? It's as if he was deliberately asking me to hit him. And just then, accompanied by Shimin Yi's lazy voice, a flash of lightning suddenly cracked open. Gerard's face was shocked. But before he could figure it out, Shimin Yi's figure emerged from the smoke. Yes, this is the new skill Shimin Yi acquired when he returned to Earth, immortality. Not only immune to physical damage, can quickly heal wounds. Seeing Gerard's fierce face, Shimin Yi grinned. How about this, isn't it amazing? Come to the door along the internet cable. The result found that the other party was a pervert immune to physical damage. At this time, Gerald's mentality had collapsed. How the hell can I play this? However, after testing the skill, Shimin Yi asked the staff to disable his skill. Hard-won sparring partner. He didn't want to scare her away. After the staff turned off the disabled immortality skill, Shimin Yi looked at Gerard again, fearing that you would not accept defeat and would find an excuse to say that it was because of this superpower. Now play with me. Gerard threw the weapon on the ground to Shimin Yi. You are as arrogant as the rumors say. False rumors are certainly false. I am even stronger than the rumors say. But to be honest, you can't even beat the so-called 3 big shots. You dare to challenge me? Are you a little ungrateful? Gerard was furious when he heard this. He quickly charged at Shimin Yi. Shimin Yi calmly blocked Gerard's attack. Then, with a flash, he vanished into the original place. Just as Gerard was still wondering where the other person had gone, Shimin Yi's teasing voice came from behind him. Shi Xiang reversed the move and thrust the spear forward. Gerard Chrysis's masterpiece quickly retreated and distanced himself from it. However, Shimin Yi seemed to have had enough at this time. He focused his power on the spear. The spear tore through the air, emitting a sonic boom as it was suddenly thrown towards Gerard. Gerard raised his shield to block, but he was still knocked away. Looking at Gerard kneeling on the ground, Shimin Yi let out a confident smile. Everything was over. I have already won. Hearing this, Gerald immediately denied it. It means the opponent's spear just missed. Shimin Yi looked disdainful. I deliberately missed just now. He has already shown mercy, so don't try to dodge here. In short, you cannot win against me with such a large shield. Amid Gerard's puzzled gaze, Shi Minyi began to instruct on the spot. Don't rely on the difference in physique. You just need to change to a smaller shield. This can broaden your horizons. Given your agility and control level, this is more advantageous. Gerald looked at Shi Minyi with suspicion. Are you kidding me? No kidding. Even if I give you everything, you are not my match, you idiot. Listen to the conversation between the two people on the field. Bai Jihu was so anxious that he gritted his teeth. Lil yeah, this kid really knows how to make things difficult. Gerard was already difficult enough to handle. Isn't this just asking for trouble? At this moment, having finished educating Gerard, Shi Minyi was also ready to leave. Before leaving, he told Gerard to go home after. Remember to pay the tuition fee. Gerard said it's no problem. However, Shi Minyi must play a game against himself in 2 weeks. Shi Minyi was a little angry. I've already said I won't participate in the competition. If you really want me to, I won't take your tuition fees, okay? Gerard hugged Shi Minyi. As long as you come out, I'll give you however much money you want. Even I will give myself to you. At this moment, a group of people outside the venue saw the image on the screen. Everyone's face darkened. Suddenly, Lin Jintai gently patted his head. Thought of a search idea that violates my ancestors. Hee hee. Looks like it's time to use him. The man saw his niece. Couldn't help but activate the clairvoyance. Shi Minyi, after educating Gerald, Lin Jintai then posted the video of their conversation. Gave it to the media. At the same time, released news. If, in the match 2 weeks later, Empire can win with a perfect score, Shi Minyi will personally participate in the friendly match between the two countries. He insisted on disbanding the Transcendent Association. Lin Jintai said with grievance. I, your elder brother, am helpless too. As a member of the War and Fire Cloud Association, he was also under a lot of pressure, but he told Shi Minyi not to worry. After all, there are 3 matches. If the opponent wins a match without all members stocking up even once, na Shi Minyi Jio Byung Sanjia. In the upcoming friendly match, Shi Minyi was a little reluctant, but for the sake of old times, he endured it. However, he told the other person this was the last time. If any Imperial player gets knocked down, even if he cries and begs him, he will not participate in the competition. Lin Jintai confidently assured that there was no problem. How could Shi Minyi possibly know? America's current superhumans never disappoint in their ability to disappoint. This game is a sure loss. Shi Minyi went home and planned to continue watching dramas. But his news was playing on TV all the time. This made him extremely angry. Just as he was about to go out for some fresh air, Bai Xiaoyan's training voice came over. At this moment, Bai Xiaoyan is training her agility under her father's guidance. Bai Jihu told him, as a support player, I want to better assist my teammates. It is necessary to emphasize the excitement. Shi Minyi, who was behind her, felt that the other party was up to something useless. So he opened the analysis eye. He checked Xia Yan's attributes. He found that Xia Yan's agility had reached the upper limit, and her growth limit was far not as good as the Baiji tiger of the past, but the limit of endurance and muscle growth. This far surpassed his father Bai Jihu's training method. It might work for you, but it's completely wrong for your daughter. As for letting her daughter be an assistant worker, that's an even worse idea. Looking at Xiaoyan, who is taking a break, Shi Minyi thought to himself. With this level, he is still the king card of this competition? He might not even be able to beat an Imperial player. Thinking of this, Shi Minyi directly asked Xia Yan, don't continue training agility and speed. Bai Jihu, however, said it was not enough. He felt Xia Yan could still improve. Shi Minyi pointed at Bai Jihua and said your daughter is just like you speed type, even the superpower is the same. So you want to train him to be a vice craftsman like you. But you two are different. He said, turning to Xia Yan. You always used the whip before. Entangle the opponent and leave them to your teammates to attack. This is completely wrong. You could have solved it yourself. Why hand it to a companion who can help you end your opponent? So what you need to train now is muscle and swordsmanship. He picked up the weapon on the ground. Just show him. Long chains locked the sandbags. Shi Minyi suddenly slashed horizontally with his sword. In the blink of an eye, the sandbag was split in 2. At this time, Xia Yan and her father were both dumbfounded. Shi Minyi declared, from today onwards Xia Yan's position will change from assistant craftsman to melee attacker. These 14 days, I will personally train Bai Xia Yan. The man only said one sentence. Just let the bald man spend 10 million for him. Gerard listened to Shi Minyi's advice. Go back and change the 5-pronged shield to the one from Ma. The result is predictable. He has overcome his weaknesses. Even his agent saw through him. He also encouraged Gerard. At this rate, it won't be long before defeating the big 3 is not a problem. Gerard asked him how much this change would be worth in money. The agent calculated it carefully. About 10 million US dollars. If you can master the current style, the annual salary for the next renewal may be even higher than this. Hearing this, Gerard looked at Shimin-Yi on the television. Very well. Then immediately transfer 10 million to Shimin-Yi. Just say this is my, Gerald's, blood money. Good heavens, I didn't expect Guangtoge to be such a straightforward person. 2 weeks passed quickly. The match between the Green Nation and the Empire. It also opened amidst the cheers of many little ducks. Introduced by the host. 2 teams entered the arena one after another. At this time, Shimin-Yi was also sitting in the audience. He was also looking forward to the new Bai Xiaoyan after the change of position. What kind of performance will there be? This dungeon for the competition is an ancient underground city guarded by skeletons. The Palace of Marta Borni. There are 3 floors in total, each with a boss. The first floor is the Skeleton King. The second floor is Death Knight. The top level is Gulong and the Witch. Competition rules. The team that kills all members of the opposing team wins. Killing monsters or opponents earns kill points. The more kill points earned, the greater the chance of receiving positive rewards. As both sides enter the virtual cabins in turn, the first match officially begins. Both sides simultaneously advance towards the boss from symmetrical ends of the map. Gerard led the Imperial Extraordinary Team in an orderly operation. It was a little slow in excitement, but the defense is like an iron wall. While the national team led by Bai Xiaoyan is the exact opposite. They bypassed the first floor's minions and charged straight towards the boss room. Bai Jihu looked at his daughter charging on the screen and secretly cheered her on in his heart. This tactic was developed by her. Although the risk is high, as long as the battle is successful, can get a lot of points. And once the boss is eliminated, the first floor will be sealed off within minutes. This way they might be able to disrupt the Empire's strategy. Bai Xiaoyan soon encountered the first layer's skeleton war king. However, just as they engaged in a fierce battle with the boss, the Empire's scouts had already taken in the whole scene, and conveyed the message back. Gerard, who received the message, ordered his men to stop hunting. They must now rush to the boss area as soon as possible. But Gerald's speed is rather slow, so he set his sights on one of the team members. Now it's all up to your superpowers. The boss was robbed. His life was in danger. This operation would make even a dog shake its head. Bai Xia Yanjing was leading her team to fight against the Skeleton King. Gerard suddenly shot forward like a cannonball. Not only did he stop Bai Xia Yan from attacking the boss, but he also knocked him out with a single headbutt. The Bai Jihu outside the screen looked shocked. He could see that Gerard had bounced back using the teammates' superpower storm. The team that lost its white-faced general is no match for the Empire. They were quickly wiped out. Bai Xiaoyan walked out of the virtual cabin with a dejected face. This time she clearly had her uncle's guidance. Why did we still lose? Just as he opened the door to the locker room, he suddenly heard Shimen-Yi's scolding. Shimen-Yi couldn't stand it anymore. The game just now was just painful to watch. He will personally formulate tactics for them. And it's a tactic that can at least kill Gerard once. The second round of the competition soon began. This time, the Empire's team changed tactics. From the beginning, they were divided into 2 teams. The starting team of 6 quickly occupied the hunting ground using their speed advantage. Gerald's regard specialized in hunting. On the other hand, the national team, in a change from their previous defensive style, launched an all-out attack. This maneuver baffled even the commentators. Could Wei Guo be disheartened? Why is the whole team so reckless? At this moment, Shimen-Yi, who was off stage, was smiling as she looked at the screen. Good. As long as you follow my instructions, there will definitely be a chance. The tactic Shimen-Yi set for them was a sneak attack. He had personally conquered this dungeon when he was very young. On the surface, Marta Berni's palace appears to be a one-way structure, but in reality, there is a secret passage built by the subterranean people. This secret passage is very hidden and suitable for ambushes. Only a handful of people know how to find this place, so as long as this map is a 1:1 reproduction, the secret passage is sure to be discovered. Shimen-Yi told everyone that the whole team entered the secret passage. Immediately launch a general attack on the Imperial teams that are hunting separately. And in Gerard's team, you must attack his legs. After switching to a smaller shield, Gerard reduced his defense range and no longer protected his teammates as comprehensively. This means that he has not fully adapted yet. So they must act quickly before he adapts. And they need to win the game while the whole team is still alive. Under this pressure, facing a surprise attack by an enemy force twice his size, Shimen-Yi believed that Gerard would definitely be eliminated. At this moment in the virtual battlefield, the scout guarding near the buff was surprised. When all the national team members went where? Bai Xiaoyan has found the secret passage with her team. Gerard, who was hunting monsters, heard an explosion from the wall behind him. He broke through with the 11 players of the national team. Gerard was startled and immediately cast a defensive spell. What he didn't expect was that the opponent's target was not him, but it's the support behind him. Although he killed 3 members of a country's team, my side also lost 2 supports. The 3 against 8 situation itself was unfavorable to them. Besides, Bai Xia also grasped his weakness. Soon, only the leg-broken Gerard remained on the field. Gerard knew that changing tactics and gaining the upper hand so quickly must have been due to Xi Minye's guidance. The moment the Empire's main force, Gerard, was terminated, the audience suddenly erupted. This was definitely an unbelievable reversal. The national team actually defeated 5 members of the Imperial team. Bai Jihu stared blankly at the big screen. However, Xi Minye behind him calmly said, "See? I told you, Xia Yan will definitely defeat Gerard. He is one of the 7 heroes who saved the world. Even after 17 years, he is still revered as a god. The match between Gua and the Empire is over. He got a pentakill, but she still lost. However, this match is for all the national team players. It can be said that he is a prominent figure in the history of the Han dynasty. They broke their long-standing losing streak. And this is all thanks to Xi Minye's pre-war territory." The video of the game had only been online for less than 5 minutes, and it already had over 10 million views. Lin Juntai found Xi Minye and asked him if he wanted to use his abilities. Xi Minye looked disgusted. "Our bet was clearly won by me. You better not visit me," Lin Juntai said with a cold sweat on his face. In a few days, the Zhanhua Fengyun Professional League will begin. Before the opening ceremony, he wanted to organize a charity match with famous players. Xi Minye's hoped to participate. Lin Juntai, who had just finished speaking, had no hope left. He knew Xi Minye's temper very well. If you don't like something, there's no point in arguing about it. But who would have thought that Xi Minye would say he wanted to think about it? Lin Juntai said he was just too happy to see the other person's radiant smile. Xi Minye couldn't help but start to doubt the authenticity of the charity competition. Lin Juntai immediately felt guilty, but he also insisted that he had not lied. Xi Minye stated that he would only participate under certain conditions. The scene shifts to his home. At that moment, Bai Jihu was standing in the training ground with a worried expression on his face. That's right. Xi Minye required that Bai Jihu also compete in order to participate. Bai Jihu was somewhat annoyed. "I am already 48 years old and haven't touched a weapon in 17 years. Getting on the field will only make you lose face." Xi Minye smiled and said that he would definitely train him well, so that he could regain his old feeling. Saying this, he activated his analytical eyes to check Bai Jihu's attributes. After 17 years without a fight, Bai Jihu's various attributes had decreased. Xi Minye smiled sweetly at the other person. She didn't expect him to become so weak. "Let's start the devil training tomorrow." Meanwhile, Lin Juntai was sitting by the window, thinking about what Xi Minye had said. The initial conditions, besides allowing Bai Jihu to participate, also included his request for a one-on-one match with Xia Yan. However, no matter what, the fact that the 7 heroes have joined forces again will definitely attract a lot of sponsors. Thinking about this, Lin Juntai picked up the phone on the table. "It's me. I need your help with something." The man just took a simple physical fitness test. The result refreshed the 17-year record. 7 days remained before the charity match. Bai Jihu brought Xi Minye to the Zhanpu Fengyun Association. Before the competition, he needed to complete a clone test to match his ability in the real world. This test mainly focuses on muscle agility and face value. The content of the test is also very simple. Just pull the handle to get the muscle value. Xi Minye pulled the lever 3 times in a row as instructed. They are 813 points, 817 points and 819 points. This value is not outstanding. The staff are not too surprised. Then he began to conduct the leader test. As required, Xi Minye was darting around the testing field. However, this time he ran the number. This directly shocked the off-site staff. 971 points. You know the fastest order currently is only 107 points. This score is good enough to rank among the top few. However, Xi Minye was not satisfied with this number. He thought that if he worked harder, maybe he could continue. Thinking of this, he began to concentrate. He didn't know why, but he felt his condition was really off today. Xi Minye, who had regained his form, started moving around again. This time, the speed is even faster than before. Wait for the results. Everyone outside exclaimed in disbelief. Xi Minye surprisingly scored 107 points, the same score as the fastest superhuman on land, Na Dantong. Hearing this, Xi Minye couldn't help but feel surprised. His agility was 97, and that alone is 100. How could two people possibly have the same score? Xi Menyi decided to test his muscles again. This time he also focused his attention first. Then he pulled with all his might. The score actually increased again to 890. Xi Menyi recalled his own changes. I felt a sense of déjà vu just now. Suddenly his head shook slightly. Right. It was that time when she stayed alone in the last dungeon and fought desperately. The time when she showed extraordinary willpower in the face of death. No wonder his willpower has surpassed human limits. So there are such effects. I understand now. Xi Menyi came to the final test. A round bead used to test positive values. Just place your hand on it and inject positivity. The ball will change color. Xi Menyi once reached the 100-point limit of his positive value through meditation and sitting. So for this test, he didn't have any pressure at all. When Xi Menyi placed his hand on the orb, the rapidly climbing branches regarded the gravity outside. As the orb turned black-purple, the final branch appeared on the big screen. Seeing this, the staff's mouth opened in surprise. Can fit a whole Roman big. 10:30 a.m. He unexpectedly broke the highest human skill record. He is clearly the strongest hero on Earth. But she was obsessed with how to fill it up. To kill time, Xi Menyi participated in a charity competition held by a country. Upon receiving this news, all the big shots in the world have been mobilized. The Empire's famous agent Feiyuman, as soon as he got off the plane, couldn't help but sigh. 15 years ago, Weigua had many strong people. It was also thanks to himself back then. Bring them back to the Empire in large numbers so I can become a top brokerage company. The only pity is that I didn't take Bai Jihu away back then. There was no way. Back then, none of the 7 heroes were interested in Zhang Huofengyun. But this time, we absolutely cannot miss this opportunity with Xi Menyi. Not only him. The famous European agent Czech also came to China. There are even the Moro brothers of the Empire. They all share the same goal. That is to pull down the leaves of the Western Gate. At this moment, the sound of high heels suddenly echoed through the airport. Everyone looked towards the source of the sound. The atmosphere instantly froze. The newcomer was one of the 7 heroes of that time. The youngest member, Xiulan. Don't be nervous. I came here today just to see a stinky little brother. On the other hand, Xi Menyi was in a panic when he learned that Xiulan had arrived. 17 years ago. Xiulan, due to her unique superpower, chosen as one of the 7 heroes. Because she is the only daughter of a rich man. And due to his extraordinary superpowers, he is fully protected by the government. She lived a life of luxury from a young age. But after she joined Xi Menyi's team, Xi Menyi would always have some tactical coordination problems. She was scolded harshly. When she learned that the other person had come to the scene and called her stinky little brother, Xi Menyi's heart instantly sank. Just as Xia Yan felt he could soon enjoy the joy, Bai Jihu told Xi Menyi to put this matter off for now. The most important thing right now is to win this match. Xi Menyi shrugged, adding Bai Jihu and Xia Yan to himself. This configuration is enough for 3 people. As for the other local chickens and dogs, just follow along and win. However, at this moment, a small child in the crowd caught Xi Menyi's attention. His name is Chui He. Although the attribute values are not at their maximum limit, she possesses 2 exceptional superpowers. Focus on the front and strengthen endurance, especially the second skill. His muscle upper limit is 90. If trained well, it can completely become a usable tank. Thinking of this, Xi Menyi immediately called the young man out. Upon learning that the opponent was now in close combat, Xi Menyi felt his brain power was insufficient. Are you stupid? Why would you choose to be a melee fighter instead of a tank? Do you know what your superpower is? Chui, he said. He also thought about being a tank, but because of his small stature, he could only choose to be an attacker. And his superpower is concentrated positively, which can be used in attacks. Hearing this, Xi Menyi understood the strangeness. It turned out this kid still didn't know. I have already awakened the second skill. He asked his subordinate to find him a shield. Xi Menyi told Chui He that due to time constraints. Next he only needs to fix the shield to his left chest. Chui He looked fierce, but before he could speak, Xi Menyi looked at him with a gloomy face. Kid, you better not talk back to me. From now on, you are the tank of the team. I should have looked at you one more time in the crowd. This little rooster has been attacking for 2.5 years. He was transferred to the tank position. The world only knows that Xi Menyi is the strongest hero on the surface. It is unclear how he got to this point. Analyzing eye allows him to easily see attribute panels that others cannot see, even skills that some superhumans themselves have not noticed. He can also be the first to discover. By relying on this skill, Xi Menyi has trained countless experts. Xiao Gaga, who was assigned to the tank position, looked like a wronged little wife. But time didn't give him a chance to explain. Along with the audience's cheers, The two teams walked online in succession. Bored, Shimin Yi sprayed urine everywhere. Suddenly, a blonde, bubble-blowing person caught his attention. Xiningxiu's overall attributes are good, but willpower is garbage. Shimin Yi, who came from a poor family, always looked down on this kind of child without willpower. Xiningxiu also looked down on Shimin Yi. Especially during the last match, Shimin Yi pointed at them. An old saying that hasn't even experienced the turmoil of war is like a fart from Donggu. Seeing the other person's dissatisfaction, Shimin Yi walked to his side. You seem to be very unhappy with me. Xiningxiu looked contemptuous. Of course, she was dissatisfied. In the last competition, she saw that you were very good at bluffing. You haven't even played Lianzhan Huifengyan. People like you are outdated. Do you believe it or not, we will have a competition later. Can I play baseball? This question made Shimin Yi burst into laughter. Thanks to you, I seem to be a little interested in Gunfire Reborn now. Today, you are dead. As both sides entered the virtual cabin, the scene became completely excited. Besides the famous agent, Gerard also came to the scene. This time, the map they fought on was the rotating caverns of Azhara. It is a terrain composed of 3 circular arenas, with a secret passage to the underground at the center. The monster that appeared was Arachne, Skeleton Man and Selpin. Before entering the dungeon, Bai Jihu had already formulated a tactic. After killing all the monsters in 5-1, everyone immediately goes to clear Area 5-2. Meanwhile, Shimin Yi went alone to kill the boss of Area 5. As District 5 will be closed after the boss dies, everyone must adjust their time to complete the kill at the same time. Hearing this, everyone began to discuss, could someone really kill Selpin alone? Even the strongest team needs at least 3 people. Bai Jihu didn't give everyone an explanation. He directly deployed the combat plan for the 6th district. Joking. The real strongest on the surface is the White Religion. This level of monster is probably not even enough for him to pick his teeth with. He did it all by himself. The one who hired 1,000,000 demon lords. Returning to 17 years later but playing a virtual game, Shimin Yi's appearance. It attracted the attention of all the powerful people. As the competition officially began, Shimin Yi also began his hunt. With Bai Jihu's cooperation, the two of them quickly harvested the monsters. This moment instantly ignited the off-court enthusiasm. They are indeed the legendary duo, their cooperation is perfect. The power is not simple at all. Soon the monsters of the first area. The two of them cleaned it up. But as the saying goes, laymen watch the excitement, experts watch the doorway. Although Alaconii is not a powerful monster, it is difficult to defeat her if her hard shell cannot be pierced. Any attack is ineffective. In Shimin Yi's repeated withdrawals, Lutan brothers are already worshipping. This is Shimin Yi's signature move, a 100 centimeters draw shot. Today really is eye-opening. Regarding this technology, Xiulan is very familiar. The seemingly simple skill of throwing. But she was played around with by Shimin Yi. At the moment of using the throwing skill, the spear will fly out at extreme speed. And what Shimin Yi needs to do, just before he flew out 100 centimeters, grab the gun again. This is super fast pumping technology. Its power is much greater than simply using demonic power. This crazy technology is equivalent to catching a bullet that has been fired. The entire process cannot have a single mistake. Xiulan couldn't help but sigh. Shimin Yi, you haven't changed a bit. Bai Jihu was gathering everyone, preparing to clear the second zone. At this moment, he realized that Shimin Yi was gone. Chui he told him that Shimin Yi had just said she wanted to go warm up first and guessed she was already in the press room. Hearing this, Bai Jihu could only sigh helplessly. This boy is still as popular as ever. Then he called the remaining 9 team members to get ready to clean the second zone. Meanwhile, in the newsroom of the third zone, Shimin Yi was smiling at the Serpang in front of him. Little bug. Long time no see. Seemingly feeling Shimin Yi's intimate touch, Serpang burst into tears. Quickly attacked the opponent. Shimin Yi calmly dodged the attack. You are still as grumpy as ever. As he spoke, the gun was already covered in lightning. Driven by the force of thunder, Shimin Yi suddenly struck a blow. Make this shot as fast as possible. The blue light between the guns pierced the python's descent, but this blow did not kill it. Bring others here. The boss is on his last legs and has lost his mobility. Originally, Shimin Yi found that the higher the level of monsters he killed in the virtual space, the more enhancements the hunter's clone receives. So this boss, he intentionally left it for the weaker members of the team. He leaped off the Serping. Shimin Yi called out to Bai Jihu and his daughter. Both of you follow me? I suddenly have a brilliant plan. You're getting cocky. I still feel I can't pull the sword. This is really poisonous. A small fry who has not yet risen dares to challenge the strongest on Earth 17 years ago. Shimin Yi joined the game just to kill time. Now I'm energized. just finished hunting the first boss. Shi Minyi took Bai Jihu and his daughter with him to go and search for Xiao Gaga's whereabouts. Shi Jing was busy hunting monsters with his team. Suddenly, a spear brushed past his face. His foreskin was also instantly cut. Shi Xiu's face was full of shock. His first reaction was that the team had been ambushed. Meanwhile, Xiao Gagag's other team also encountered an obstacle. The ones blocking their path were the troops led by Cui He. Before they parted, Shi Minye had told them, "If you ever encounter a local team, don't panic. As long as he tries his best to hold the opponent back, Bai Jihua will come to support him soon." Shi Minye finished another draw. At this time, she was planning to throw Bai Jihua out. He reminded Bai Jihua, "You absolutely cannot die, otherwise you will lose all face." As Bai Jihua was thrown out, Shi Minye exerted his strength once again. She threw the spear. At this moment, Shinichio still thought the other party was coming towards him. Quickly have the teammates surround him. But when the white chicken tiger approached him, he instantly teleported behind himself. Shinichio hadn't reacted yet. The tank in our team was instantly killed by the opponent. Just as everyone launched a counterattack against Bai Jihu, 1 to 5 company soldiers suddenly descended from the sky and entangled Bai Jihu. The visitor was no other than. It was his daughter Bai Xiaoyan. Xia Yan exerted all her strength with both arms. He pulled with all his might. Bai Jihu instantly flew towards Shi Minye's location. And Xia Yan also launched teleportation at the same time as landing. The entire maneuver took less than 2.5 seconds. Shi Minye smiled as she watched everyone pressing forward aggressively. The tank has arrived. It's time to end this. Meanwhile, shouts could be heard off-screen. Using Yangdong to eliminate the opponent's core strength, and then team wipe, he is indeed the former strongest on Earth. Shi Minye brought a wonderful competition. Commentators were speechless. Shinichio finally understood what a gap meant, and repeated hammer blows. He almost called out for his father. At the same time, Cui He followed Shi Minye's instructions. It became a frontline tank, though it was the first time, but it erupted. His strength is unbelievable. But after all, it's the national team. Cui He soon could not hold on any longer. At this crucial moment, a shot rang out suddenly. Xiao Gaga vanished in a flash. Shi Minye appeared on the scene with a beaming smile. "The next battle is ours. End it all in 5 minutes, then hurry up and get to the next game." Once he did it all by himself. The hero who saves all mankind is in the dungeon. After 17 years, returning to Earth. Unexpectedly, I was underestimated by a group of ignorant brats. Shi Minye contributed most of the credit in the first game. Gave it to Bai Ji. But this second match, he decided to show everyone what is the strongest on Earth. The competition has started. Bai Jihua is assigning tasks to the team members. Shi Minye said calmly, "I'll act alone this time. Let him handle it himself." Bai Jihu felt a little uneasy. Wasn't the first one done well together? "No, this time I'm serious." Shi Minye rushed out. Bai Jihu's face turned black. "This kid, is he going to cause me trouble?" At this time, Shi Minye had already encountered the first wave of monsters in the dungeon. Undead warrior. Completed one charge after another. And the structure of this underground city. Shi Minye had long memorized it by heart. Taking advantage of the terrain features, he soon found the enemy force. At the moment they saw Shi Minye, all the little Gagas were shocked. It has been less than 10 minutes. How could he be so fast? Shi Minye looked coldly at everyone. "I was just warming up in the previous round. This time, you noisy bunch are crying for help." Guanadui's captain Kai Yuxian shouted. "Don't panic!" Immediately turned around and told everyone to hurry up and withdraw. Seeing the small Gagagas scattering and fleeing, Shi Minye showed a motherly smile. "Since you are so lost, then I'll play with you guys a little longer." As he raised his long spear, Shi Minye activated his analytical eye. "It's truly garbage. Nothing." The long spear shot out suddenly, instantly hitting the back of a small Gaga. Chonga has a saying. Cece's right is Junjie. He got the kill. The other little Gagas also ran away. However, Shi Minye didn't care. Because these people will die at their own hands sooner or later. It was unknown how long it had been, but the Zai Gagas had already escaped to the bottom of the dungeon. Shi Minye's sudden appearance stunned them. The captain told everyone to heighten their vigilance to prevent another sneak attack by the enemy. However, at this moment, Shi Minye had arrived at the empty area in the middle. Even the commentator couldn't understand his next move. Shi Minye looked at the abyss in the middle and secretly calculated. At the speed of those little brats' retreat. Now we should be underground. Let me see if I guess correctly. Power converged on the gunfire. Shi Minye suddenly threw something into the abyss. Gravitational acceleration is equal to the force of gravity. The long spear was like a dragon plunging into the earth. The little rascals felt a gust of cool wind above their heads. Still not reacting. A little Gaga was pierced through the body. At this time, Kai Yuxian had already completely gone wild. The commentator outside the field was shocked. This is definitely the most spectacular kill seen in the history of Zhan Huofengnian. One person single-handedly challenged 11 extraordinary individuals. Shimin Yi wants to prove with his strength what it means to be the strongest on earth. After completing the double kill, Xiao Gagas have started infighting. Especially Xiningxiu, whose willpower attribute is not high. He began to blame the captain for only thinking about running away. The captain told him to calm down, as they were already short-handed and couldn't afford a head-on confrontation. Sending someone to contain Shimin Yi may lead to their encirclement. Xiningxiu was a little annoyed. Just use the explosive ball to take out Shimin Yi, wouldn't that be the end of it? But the captain advised him to save his strength for the front line. Xiningxiu was filled with resentment. He ignored the captain's obstruction, fired an exploding ball towards Shimin Yi. Along with the explosion sound, Xiningxiu laughed triumphantly. I knew you were hiding behind. Now you're left with nothing. Right at the moment when Xiningxiu laughed triumphantly, Shimin Yi was carried out of the smoke and dust unharmed. What a fool! Can't you tell I deliberately let you find out? With that, he leaped and vanished into thin air. Xiningxiu's mind was already starting to crack at this point. His superpower, which he had always been so proud of, was so easily blocked. Even in major leagues, few can block my exploding ball. It is precisely because of this skill. He was able to be selected for the national team and become the core attacker. The captain also saw Shimin Yi's predicament. He immediately divided everyone into 2 teams to go and contain the opponent. He watched the 3 of them leave the team. Shimin Yi looked speechless. He thought he could come up with some good tactics. This is even more disappointing than imagined. He jumped into the crowd. Now he has completely had enough. The hard, stiff spear, with each thrust, would take away a child. After finishing the martial arts kill, the audience outside the field were all stunned. The game was only a few minutes old. He single-handedly took down such a powerful warrior. Is this the true level of the strongest on earth? Xiulan stared blankly at the screen. That man, he really came back. At this time, Bai Jihu heard that Shimin Yi had captured Wu Sha. He hurriedly contacted him to ask what happened, and they said they would go to meet him immediately. Shimin Yi grinned. No need. I estimate it will be over before you even arrive. Now I'm ready to kill. Shimin Yi exerted force with his feet and arrived directly in front of the final 6 team members. Looking at Shimin Yi, who resembled a god of death, the minivan of the carrying team was in a bit of a panic. The captain instructed them to form pairs and surround Shimin Yi. However, how could a flock of fat sheep be a match for a venomous wolf? A gun in hand? No one can open it against 10,000 men. Shimin Yi swept through the crowd with overwhelming power. Xiningxiu was completely dumbfounded. What the hell kind of existence have I provoked? Watching the other person step by step toward him, Xiningxiu was completely desperate. And what awaits him will be endless rampage. He traveled thousands of miles on his own, and his fist was worth 1,000,000 deeds. Even though it has been 17 years, Shimin Yi is still the strongest existence on Earth. Coming out of the virtual warehouse, the host immediately interviewed Shimin Yi. He asked the other party for any good suggestions for the national team. Shimin Yi scratched her nipples raw but couldn't come up with any suggestions. If I have to say anything, then destroy it. The host asked him again if he had any thoughts of becoming a coach. Shimin Yi smiled and said, it depends on their sincerity. On the way back, Bai Jihu asked Shimin Yi if the coaching matter was serious. Shimin Yi said, if the money is in place, it's still worth considering. However, he advised Bai Jihu to step down from the position of head coach quickly, because he is simply not suitable to teach others. Hearing this, Bai Jihu suffered a heavy blow. I thought I could stand on my own feet after following Shimin Yi for 11 years. Unexpectedly received such an evaluation. And one of the former 7 heroes, Amy Laikasa, can become a world-class coach. I am such a failure. He asked Shimin Yi if she was willing to be the technical coach. Shimin Yi also said the same thing. Money is in place. Everything is easy to discuss. However, considering their past relationship, he could give him some free advice. The first is to bring Cui He into the national team and let him play as the tank. Lu Bihu, that kid, was the trump card for a one-hit kill. After all, his acceleration skill is still somewhat useful. Third is Kai Yuxian. He was moved from a frontline tank to the back as a support tank. Finally, kick out Vice President Xiningxiu's son. Hearing this, Bai Jihu was immediately displeased, not because he was afraid of the other person's father's identity. But Xiningxiu's various attributes are considered to be among the top in the national team. Shimin Yi looked disdainful. What good is ability if you're just a wallflower? Your willpower is like a child's. This kind of person is just a bad apple in the team, unless his will can be cultivated. As they talked, they arrived at the Henley's Hotel. After the charity match, there was a banquet. Xi Minyi, as the main character, naturally had to make an appearance, certainly attending the banquet. There are also gold agents from different countries. Xi Minyi arrived. Jack, the European broker, went first. After a brief conversation, the other person handed the business card to Xi Minyi. Jack had just left when the Liu Dan brothers squeezed in. Regarding these two people, Xi Minyi knows them. Previously, they specialized in underground city munitions. Xia Yan told him in a low voice. They don't make weapons anymore. Sure is an owner of the Lumiere War and Fire Club. One of the three greats, Nade, was right there in their club. Xi Minyi understood. He asked if the two Liu Dan were trying to win him over. Liu Dangxiangdi showed a sincere smile and said that if he could pull Xi Minyi, the world's #1, it would be best. However, they won't force anyone to do things they don't like. They are now very interested in Xia Yan and want to recruit him to the club. Xi Minyi was immediately delighted. You have good taste. But are you sure you're not just trying to please me? Liu Dan brothers said absolutely not. They made the decision only after watching Xia Yan's competition. Of course, if Xi Minyi can join together, even better. Xi Minyi looked speechless. Your abacus beads are hitting my face. But then again, if Xia Yan can join their club, he will surely get better development. He sent Liu Dan away. Xi Minyi thought there wouldn't be anything to do today, just as he and Xia Yan were about to play cards. A voice called out to him again. Xi Minyi was somewhat annoyed. He's really getting on my nerves, isn't he? I'm sorry, I'm Yang Min, the secretary of the organization. Have you heard of the Superman merit system? Xi Minyi lowered his head fiercely. That's not just a blank check, Yang Minyang said. This system has been in place for 17 years. Everyone just thought Xi Minyi would not come back. Therefore, they plan to give all the 17-year pensions to Xi Minyi. And the exact amount is 2,568 million yuan. Someone has not gone home for 3 years. I came home and found I had a 2-year-old son. This man hadn't returned home for 17 years, but when he finally did, he found 2.5 billion yuan in his account at the Bank of the Universe. This is outrageous. After the charity gala, Lin Jintai found Xi Minyi. He complained that Xi Minyi played too hard during the day. The national team's youngsters were all very frustrated. Xi Minyi looked indifferent. As the president of the association, I think it's you, uncle, who is too incompetent. It's tiring to say more. Let Xi Minyi participate in the charity competition. It must be the thing Lin Jintai regrets the most now. He asked Xi Minyi if he would accept the position of technical coach for the national team. He had already applied to his superiors. He will be offered a generous annual salary. However, Xi Minyi smiled and said he had other plans. Adding some previous savings, he now has 16 billion. Therefore, he wants to be the club owner and personally train the players. When returning home, Xi Minyi noticed a woman waiting for him at the corner of the street. That's right. It is Xiolan, one of the 7 heroes. Xi Minyi's face was covered in cold sweat. This young woman used to wear her heart on her sleeve. What's going on today? Could this be a revenge seeker? We haven't seen each other for so many years. Xi Minyi still couldn't resist using his clairvoyance. Xiolan's various attributes have reached their limits, and she even has an additional positioning skill. It seems this little guy is much stronger than before. Xi Minyi stepped forward and asked if the other person had come to seek revenge. Xiolan smiled slightly. I'm not as petty as you think. I'm just here to confirm that you've come back. Now that it's confirmed, I should go, he said, and without waiting for Xi Minyi to speak, he turned and left. Xi Minyi and Bai Jihu both had fierce expressions. However, how could he know that 17 years ago? This girl has already secretly given him her heart. However, as a high-quality Sigma male, how could Xi Minyi easily fall into a woman's trap? After returning home, Xi Minyi has been choosing clubs. Bai Jihua saw that he was serious, and said that if he needed money, he can help even if it is a B1 club. He can also buy it and give it to him. Xi Minyi was speechless. A real man never waits for an opportunity. But he has a question. What does B7 mean? Bai Jihu explained to him that B1 and B2 are both regular league matches for 11-player teams. And B7 is a 7-person league. In comparison, B7 club's operating costs will be lower. The club takes action. After all, he is not a god. It is impossible to cultivate a group of useless people into geniuses. He called Lin Jintai to ask him if he knew of any clubs for sale. Lin Jintai gave him a recommendation. Han Zhengshurye. What surprised Xi Minyi was. This club is unexpectedly the last one for 10,000 years. This shy girl blushes at the slightest touch, overwhelmed by the strongest hero on Earth's gaze. He directly bought the club he was in and vowed to cultivate him into the key player everyone was vying for. Turned out to be Lin Jintai, who was going to Shimen-yi. Shimen-yi secretly went to watch their competition. So he found it. What surprised him even more in the substitute girl was that her speed growth limit was unexpectedly 100. He also has a skill that allows him to jump 20 meters. So he unhesitatingly spent 5.1 billion to buy the club. Although no one is optimistic about this club. But Shimen-yi is confident that he will promote him to be one level. At dusk, Shimen-yi came to the club alone. Looking at the dilapidated training ground, there are actually little black ducks quacking. Shimen-yi couldn't help but sigh. The environment here was too simple. At this moment, someone suddenly stopped Shimen-yi, indicating that outsiders were not allowed to enter here. It turned out to be his new boss. Immediately started fawning. Shimen-yi put his arm around him. No need to call me boss. Later call me big brother. Work hard. Next year, I will find you a wife. Chui Dongjun is the coach here. He took Shimen-yi on a tour of the club, and told him that there are now 14 members in the club. Shimen-yi also generally understood the situation here. Although the equipment is old, it is spacious enough. The most important thing now is the players. Then in the lounge, Shimen-yi saw the little girl named Li Nayan. The boss's sudden summons made Li Nayan feel flattered. Shimen-yi mentioned his shortcomings and said that in the future he would make him the main force of the team. Hearing this, Li Nayan was stunned. I made tea for thousands of years. I've hardly ever been on the field. Are you sure? Of course. I will make you a great detective. Li Nayan was completely furious. What the hell is this? Is his own boss sick? Shimen-yi explained to him that his advantage was speed. Just need to max out the speed, then combine it with the bow and arrow to disrupt the enemy camp. Then the enemy would be provoked. He escaped relying on his speed advantage. Because he hindered his opponent from hunting, it was impossible for them to let him go. But also because of his speed, they still couldn't catch him. This is so annoying, and the combat plan targeting Li Nayan. He has a lot more to offer, as long as he's willing to work hard. Maybe I can join the national team later. Hearing this, Li Nayan was so excited that she was sweating profusely. Shimen-yi stopped him and quickly called for the next person. Let me see how much waste can be reused. This ancient beast, a four-eyed creature, looked like a withered stick. He was actually a hidden master of swordsmanship. Shimen-yi, after acquiring the last place club, analyzed the players. He discovered that the players were not actually weak. But they haven't found the right strategy. Ji Xuan was originally the support of the team. He has a skill to create a protective film using the front side. But the upper limit he represents for weapons and physical skills is 95. Shimen-yi found him and said that from today onwards, he is not support. In the following matches, he will play as a melee attacker. Ji Xuan cursed after hearing that. I have always been a support. You are so thoughtless. Is that all you called me here to say? Shimen-yi was speechless. He told Ji-sun. He is very talented in swordsmanship. And this is not something he said casually. Despite this, Ji-hun was still skeptical. After all, his explosiveness and agility are both very low. Shimen-yi said with a touch of exasperation. That's because he always likes to hide behind the crowd. And he hates this kind of behavior. The team needs support. But that's someone who has at least 2 skills to play a supporting role. Ji Xuan only has 1 protection skill, so he will be equipped with a weapon later. Ji Xuan listened and weakly asked, Is it to cultivate myself into an auxiliary part? Hearing this, Shimen-yi completely lost his composure. Can't you understand what I'm saying? Why are there so many weirdos in this club? You better behave yourself from now on, melee attacker. If you're still thinking about being a support, then wait to be fired by me. So you want to change your fate. He still intends to just drift along. Ji Xuan hesitated for a moment. He immediately took Shimen-yi's hand and said, I will strive to become a qualified assault fighter. After the conversation, Shimen-yi asked Dongjun to find a swordsmanship coach for Ji Xuan and also train the team members' endurance. Dongjun looked fierce. Does this really work? Don't worry. I am the strongest on earth. Shimen-yi is in trouble after returning home. Even the dramas she usually likes to watch, she doesn't watch them anymore. Bai Jihu was somewhat worried and asked him if it was because of the club and that he heard there were only 14 members. Don't you want to recruit some? Hearing this, Shimen-yi immediately sat up. Seeing the paparazzi blocking the door, Shimen-yi suddenly had a bold idea. It is true that we need to recruit some members. However, there is free advertising here. Thinking of this, Shimen-yi jumped directly out of the building. Fellow journalists, you sure are desperate to make a living. Next, I will answer each of your questions. But there is one request. That means immediately spreading the news that I am recruiting team members. A man took a liking to the delivery guy. He is a rare triple-skilled transcendent. Shi Minyi spread the recruitment information through the media. Shi Minyi was about to explode with anger, but still patiently selected one. Suddenly, a delivery guy's resume caught his interest. Although his attributes were extremely ordinary, he possessed a skill to deliver items and transfer vision. At the interview site, Shi Minyi met the delivery man named Zhao Mingho. Seeing the other person's resume, Dong Jun's face was full of surprise. How could a person with this attribute pass the written examination? He was about to ask Shi Minyi if the staff had made a mistake. Shi Minyi smiled and activated his analytical eyes. To his surprise, this kid actually has 3 awakened skills, one of which is a front pass. This superpower is not only rare but also tactically valuable. However, he did not include such a good skill in his resume. It seems that he himself has not yet discovered it. Shi Minyi turned and asked Dong Jun if this kid was the same age as Li Nian. Dong Jun, with a fierce expression, said, "Right. But what does it have to do with recruitment?" Shi Minyi ignored him, staring at Zhao Xinghao with a wicked smile. This was truly a twist of fate. "Zhao Xinghao, I see your resume only mentions experience as a delivery person. Then why did you come to apply for the War and Fire Cloud contestant? Moreover, considering your abilities, you are not suitable to be a player." Zhao Xinghao clenched his fist and answered firmly, "I know I'm not very good, but becoming a War and Chaos player has always been my dream. Perhaps in others' eyes this is a foolish dream, but this time I'm determined to get this job." Zhao Xinghao's answer made Shi Minyi very satisfied. He asked the other party how they had previously carried out long-distance teleportation. Zhao Xinghao said that if the distance is too far, he will use mindfulness to perceive the general location. Hearing this, Shi Minyi was immediately delighted. This ability could also be used for reconnaissance. "It seems you are more useful than I thought." It is also said that behind every successful phantom thief, there is an excellent schemer. Zhao Xinghao has been admitted, and you and Li Nian will become the best partners. From now on, the core members of Han Jingshiya will be the two of you. Let's show our opponents what playing like a Lao Lu is all about. He once led the 7 heroes to defeat the Earth people, Xingguang. Now, however, he bought the last place club and started training new players. After 2.5 months, Li Nian and Zhao Xinghao, this veteran duo of old sixes, finally trained by him. Next is the crucial battle to showcase the results. According to the battle plan devised by Shi Minyi, Li Nian used the speed game to constantly disrupt the enemy. Whenever encountering an opponent hunting monsters, he would harass from time to time, and Zhao Xinghao only needs to find a safe place, responsible for delivering arrows to Li Nian. As for his safety, then Xian Jixuan will protect. This kind of old six play has left the audience watching from the sidelines stunned. Looking at the picture on the screen, Shi Minyi laughed until she cried. Bai Jihu's wife looked at Shi Minyi with a speechless expression and asked, "Was it you who came up with the idea of making the sword drip with juice? Why don't you come and help my husband?" Speaking of this, Shi Minyi was filled with anger. He had suggested that Cui he should be the tank and Shaninxiu should be kicked out, but Bai Jihua simply wouldn't listen to her. Just then, the host announced the match results. Li Nian was surrounded by opponents. Seeing that he was about to lose, Zhao Xinghao passed the vision of the safe route to him. A streak of lightning sparked. Li Nian is like a lively Kunba, convulsing incessantly in the enemy camp. "Damn it, this pisses me off. Quickly catch this Lao Lu." Xiao Gaga's anger was ignited. All the players put down their prey. Li Nian was quickly chased and cornered on the edge of a cliff. "Slut. Look where you're running." Li Nian smiled darkly. "How do you know my smile? But what's next? It's not certain who will run away." He said this, and a giant stone appeared behind him. "My teammates are all fully armed and clinging to the rocks." This scene shocked all the commentators outside the field. They quickly used the guidance to join the battle. Li Nian's underdeveloped Gaga team, who had been chasing her, was no match for the fully developed Han Zhengshai. The first match, Shi Minyan's team won with a score of 9-0. Li Nian and Zhao Xinghao became the focus of the whole audience. Amidst the cheers, Li Nian turned her gaze towards Shi Minyan in the field. "I was right, wasn't I? I will make you the best starter." Shi Minyan happily gave a thumbs up. Boss's encouragement seemed to inject Lina Yen with chicken blood. "Don't worry, I will definitely not let you down. Lao Jiba welfare. To aim for 1,000 miles. Even after 10,000 years, still at the bottom of the pack. Under Shi Minyan's tutelage, it can also blossom into a direction that makes people's bladders tighten easily." In the second round, Shi Minyan's team scored another point with the same tactic. This competition made people remember the name of the YFM team. This is also the first victory since the team changed its name. Li Neian and Zhao Mingho's names occupied the top news headline. Netizens praised her, saying she was indeed worthy of being the captain of the 7 heroes, as she led the perennial last-place team to victory. A few days later, Bai Jihu found Shimen Yan Xiaoyi. Are those people really chosen by you? Do you think they will perform just as well if they are recruited to the national team? Shimen Yan looked resentful. She had this thought. Why don't you just go find Cui He? Why haven't they recruited him to the national team after all this time? Speaking of this, Bai Jihu also looked helpless. Cui He did agree to let him be the tank. But the opposition from their club's owner is quite big. What is his current value? Since you can't handle it, then let me make him worry about me. Don't let him be happy too soon. The most important thing right now is to train the players' endurance. At the same time, he also gave Dong Jun a target. That is, at the end of this season, the win rate will be increased to 50%. Dong Jun told the truth on the spot. Damn it, Hanjing Industries' highest win rate used to be only 31%. Are you sure you're not trying to kill me? Dong Jun thought the boss was joking with him. But the team captain, Ru Jinghuan, doesn't think so. A 50% win rate is completely impossible for the old Hanjing industry. But he believed his boss was not the kind of person who would say something like that casually. Although he always seems cynical, every decision he makes is carefully calculated. So now it's time for his team members to repay their boss. At this moment, Shimen Yi suddenly announced one thing: if in this season, the team can achieve a 50% win rate, he will add more funds. As soon as these words came out, the audience erupted in applause. After saying this, Shimen Yi left first. Actually, he had one more thing he didn't tell everyone. Their current Lao Lu tactic is not without weaknesses. The opponent only needs to find the hidden Zhao Mingho. Can directly break this containment tactic. Therefore, to gain more tactics, we need more outstanding resources. Although we have received more sponsorship recently, talent is not sponsored. Just as Shimen Yi was considering this matter, Bai Jihu sent a message asking him to go to the youth league and have a look. Although many excellent players have already signed contracts. But it doesn't necessarily have to be simple. Look here. Shimen Yi suddenly became happy. You guys wait for me, you little bastards. Shadow Walk increases movement speed by 20% while moving in shadows, and allows the user to move within shadows if they are facing an enemy with more than 70% health. Xiagaga, who possesses this superb skill of being a sly fox. In school, unexpectedly, she's unwanted trash fire. It is said that Shimen Yi left Bai Jihu after learning about the youth league. Then, one school after another began to be rudimentary. However, when he arrived at school, he discovered even those with an average ability score of 70. They were all picked by others. Just when he was about to give up, a late little Gaga ran in. Shimen Yi initially thought that the other person was a small trash with no outstanding ability. He just glanced at it with his bladder. Almost exploded on the spot. Ingfan's abilities are not outstanding. However, the Shadow Walk skill is definitely designed for assassins. If he didn't have the ability to absorb eyes, no one in this world would be able to discover it. This child has the superpower of conditional openness. Shimen Yi immediately expressed his desire to sign Ingfan. Hearing this news, Ingfan was a little startled. You don't even know me. Why invite me? Besides, not only am I weak, but I'm also slow. Even his superpowers are ordinary. However, Shimen Yi was a bit angry and said, Are you questioning my judgment? I have discovered that Li Naiyan and Zhao Xinghao are a couple. Even before Sai and Jishuan. They are all just insignificant supports. Even so, Ingfan still felt somewhat inferior. Shimen Yi told her that her superpowers are related to her personality. These all belong to the dark attribute. This can be changed through effort. She told him to work for her for 3 years. If she didn't want to do it by then, she would let him go. She will compensate him 300 million. Hearing this number, Ingfan was shocked again. She said she needed to discuss it with her mother. Shimen Yi grabbed her and said, What else is there to discuss? Hurry up and leave. Go back home after. Ingfan's mother happily sold her foolish son to Shimen Yi. With this auspicious start, Shimen Yi was confident about the upcoming simple action. Full of confidence. However, the truth is cruel. Almost all schools have signed contracts. Until evening, Shimen Yi arrived at the last school. However, what made her even more annoyed was, there is clearly a superpower here. He is a student with good personality and ability. But this boy has a lot of untold stories. Expressing his passion for firefighting, he simply considers it a hobby. What he really wants to do is become a writer who brings dreams and hope to people. Shimen Yi felt a surge of irritation, but upon hearing the other person's aspiration to become a writer, he kept it in mind. He told Cui Jingming that he was 17 years ago. Heroes who bring dreams and hope to humanity. and his biography has been published for a long time. His life is a novel. If it is written down, that will be a book. A breathtaking dark fantasy novel. He originally planned to share with the other person a secret dungeon story. Of course, the premise is to join your own team. Hearing this, Cui Jingming could no longer pretend. Immediately expressed willingness to sign a contract. Since then, Shimin Ye's team. It has taken shape. When leaving, Cui Jingming called him and asked why on him. He cannot see weaknesses. His superpower is observation. But even the weaknesses of the national team players. Everyone can see it. And why would a perfect person like Shimin Yi want to be a boss? If you become a player. Isn't it, however? Before he could finish, Shimin Yi interrupted him. I'm not interested in bullying a bunch of newbies. After all, Ge is just a legend. He bought the professional player worth 5 billion for a low price of 50 million. Before leaving, he also took the club owner. Held low once. After learning that Cui he had not been selected for the national team, Shimin Yi arrived at the Shuangxingbao club that day. The club's Wang team. They kept him outside. So he performed a set of military boxing on the spot. Thus, Shimin Yi swaggered into the club. Looking at the luxurious buildings around him, Shimin Yi couldn't help but feel that it's good to be rich. Other people's team members can train on the plastic track, while his team members can only climb mountains every day. Because her club is on a mountain 500 meters above sea level. At this moment, the club manager suddenly called out to Shimin Yi. He knew the other party was not easy to deal with, and originally wanted to bluff Shimin Yi away with his words. However, Shimin Yi didn't buy it at all. He directly questioned the other party. Why didn't they let Cui he go to the national team? The manager was sweating profusely. Coach Cui Wenxing disagreed with replacing Cui he with Tank. What does it have to do with me? Although I think so. But the manager still smiled and said, they are discussing this matter. Shimin Yi did not talk nonsense with him. Found the coach's room directly. Coach Cui Wenxing, when he saw Shimin Yi, never dared to give him instructions. Shimin Yi was a little surprised. Have we met somewhere before? Why do you look so familiar? Cui Wenxing immediately panicked. Quickly deny knowing each other. But Shimin Yi quickly recognized the other person. At the entrance to the dungeon of the Temple of Souls in 1993. It was an unprecedented large-scale raid. Nearly 200 extraordinary individuals participated. Shimin Yi, a rising star at the time, was also among them. At that time, he was only 18 years old. And 24-year-old Cui Wenxing, relying on being a few years older, refused to obey commands. Triggered the trap, delaying the dungeon raid. The duration was extended by a full 9 hours. He almost beat the other person to death after coming out. Unexpectedly, after so many years, I met him here. It's really a small world. She recognized Shimin Yi. Cui Wenxing directly despaired. After so many years, I even deliberately grew a beard and you still recognized me. Besides, I made a mistake back then. It wouldn't be another beating, would it? Shimin Yi flashed a harmless smile. I certainly won't hold a grudge over past mistakes. But you are still making other mistakes now. Shouldn't he be beaten? Besides, you have to hand over Cui he. Otherwise, I will tell the reporters about what happened that year. Let them promote the wise decision of the Shuangxingbao club coach. Cui Wenxing completely lost his temper. But when he mentioned the transfer fee for Cui he, Shimin Yella, your club is so rich, yet you still act like a poor little boss like me. Want so much? Do you think it's suitable? I just don't know if your life is worth this much. Cui Wenxing panicked. At this time, Shimin Yi in his eyes. He is simply a devil. He just said he would give them a discount. Shimin Yi smiled and asked, is his life worth only this much? Finally, after a friendly haggling, Cui Wenxing bought it for 50 million yuan. After transferring Suihe, he came to the Ysem club with his luggage a few days later. Shimin Yi went out to greet her. Finally arrived. My tank. Looking at this man who changed her destiny, Cui he, expectation filled her eyes. He firmly believes that in the near future, the Ysem club will definitely be under that man's leadership. Becoming a world-class club. The niece who had not yet been torn apart sold herself to the Lu Dan brothers. It's not that the person is small and the bird is big. But they offered too much. Shimin Yi was originally worrying about the team. Although he had recruited many unique students during this period, the total number of players in their team was only 18. They couldn't form an 11 versus 11 lineup at all. But at this moment, he discovered his niece, Bai Xiaoyan, currently learning the language of the cryptocurrency country. After some inquiries, he found. He indeed joined the Bigwa Luden Brothers Club. Bai Xiaoyan hoped that Shimin Ye could accompany him. Shimin Ye was not interested in this kind of thing. But the agent over there told him that the Lu Dan brothers had made him an exclusive weapon. And he heard that Shimin Ye was recruiting team members to go to the Bai Kingdom, maybe there would be new discoveries. Because the Battlefield Wind and Cloud League allows for 5 foreign players to participate. Hearing this, Shi Minyi no longer had any worries. Jiao Shanghao's brother's wife went with him to the state of Bai. They also heard that Shi Minyi would come together, so Lu Dan brothers specially went to the airport to pick him up. At the same time, they also brought a large number of media reporters to promote their club. Shi Minyi looked speechless. He really treated himself like an ATM. However, the worst was yet to come. Shi Minyi was wearing clothes with the Lu Dan brothers club logo. Even his farts could be linked to Lu Dan brothers. If it weren't for Bai Xiaoyan, this place must be torn down. Then Lu Dan brothers conducted a basic test on Bai Xiaoyan. The results satisfied both of them. Lu Dan Xiongdi immediately expressed their intention to sign Bai Xiaoyan for 4 million euros. Although this money is nothing in Shi Minyi's eyes, but joining Bigua's club is very beneficial for Xiaoyan's future development. Shi Minyi did not say anything but offered congratulations. Just then, a sudden, uninvited guest appeared at the door. Seeing the other person, Shi Minyi suddenly felt a pang of fear. The person who came was one of the 3 giants back then. Nade Ximonai originally thought the other party was looking for trouble today. Unexpectedly, the other party was so polite that she felt overwhelmed. He activated his analytical eyes to check the opponent's attributes, discovering that almost all of Nade's abilities have reached their limit, and his clone skill perfectly matches his ability characteristics. This is simply a counterpick born for PK. No wonder Gerard was always unable to advance to the top 3. Netizens' eyes are truly sharp. Actually, Nade really wanted to fight with Shi Minyi, but he hesitated because it was their first meeting. He never said it out loud. Shi Minyi saw his niece was somewhat entranced. She quietly told him not to be infatuated with men like Nade. Xia Yan told him to rest assured. Heng Shi said he already had a type he liked. Mother curiously stepped forward and asked. Xia Yan told him she liked rugged men. At the same time, he looked at Shi Minyi with admiration. This action immediately made the alcohol-soaked mother understand. Shi Minyi, you are something else. They say it's better to have a good voice than good food, but damn, you don't even spare your niece. Don't tell me you want to have it both ways. Refused the mother and daughter's invitation for a threesome. K. Diaojin Le Lu Dan de Tao Lu Xianjing. Before establishing the club, Luden brothers were famous arms dealers. At the same time, he is also a big fan of Shi Minyi. I have collected many things that Shi Minyi has used. Directly injected into the weapon, long hair will change its form to become a real beauty. The first time I saw this technology, it was very thin. Shi Minyi also felt very excited. Lu Dan brothers said they made 5 such weapons for him, and there are no more dungeons now. As long as it is well maintained, it can be used indefinitely. He accepted the gift that Lu Dan sent. Shi Minyi felt a little embarrassed. However, Luden told him not to be embarrassed. This weapon was not only used by him, but if it's the hair used by Shi Minyi, even a replica would sell very well. Wow! Are you two trying to trick me? This is to ask me to be their free spokesperson. Lu Dan told him not to panic. Endorsements aren't free. They will pay 1.5 million euros per year. He pays the endorsement fee and he only needs to participate in the competition with this weapon. They will also add an additional 3 million euros. Apparently for money, Shi Minyi finally chose to compromise. However, he didn't know. This is just the first step of Lu Dan's strategy. He signed the agreement happily. Luden asked if he still remembered the second clause in the contract. Signatories must not discard weapons. Shi Minyi must always carry it with him, his face stern. Can I not bring him with me, or should I just throw him away? Lu Dan explained to him that he was not a player of Zhanhua Fengyan. This weapon cannot pass through customs. To avoid violating the contract, you must register here as a professional player. Shi Minyi looked aggrieved. He knew these 2 little potatoes were up to no good. Damn it, he was waiting for me here. Seeing Shi Minyi, Lu Dan immediately got angry. Lu Dan hurried to explain to him. Even joining the association, there will be no obligations or restrictions. Instead, it can increase his choices. Let him compete whenever he wants. Shi Minyi had a helpless expression. Although this matter doesn't affect me much, I feel tricked by the 2 potatoes. It made him extremely uncomfortable. After learning about this matter, Xia Yan happily clapped her hands. Congratulations to her uncle for securing the sponsorship fees and becoming a professional player. I do hope uncle can join our team. This way he can be with his uncle. Let's do what we love to do. Just now, Lu Dan suddenly came over. He heard that you got a new weapon. How about testing it? It just so happens that there is a mock competition training tomorrow morning. If you can participate, it should be very interesting. Looking at the other person, she looks full of fighting spirit. Shi Minyi grinned. You little rascal, You really don't hide your feelings at all. Your kind heart. Since it is like this, see you on the field tomorrow. This white-faced man with an iron tower physique. The man appeared before her, and she told him to come back later. Take care of your niece. By the way, after Shi Minyi agreed. The next day, after that humiliating invitation, she took her niece with her. Came to the training room. Shi Minyi is the strongest hero on earth. His sudden appearance. Everyone gathered around. Suddenly, a strong man stood in front of Shi Minyi. Shi Minyi thought that the other party came to provoke. But the next second, the man asked him to sign with a playful smile. Jiqi Lucasada. He is one of the main players of the club and also a fan of Shi Minyi. After getting Shi Minyi's autograph, Jiqi was so excited and blushed, and she also promised to. He must take care of his niece. Looking at this dark and rough man, Shi Minyi curiously initiated the analysis. Wow, except for the front, all other ability values exceed 90. She even has 3 superpowers. Although this team's ace is Any Dan, this guy is absolutely an irreplaceable member. Even compared to Gerard, he is no less impressive. Shi Minyi looked at Chi-Chi's third skill curiously. How can he have such an ability? Could it be that he likes green things? At this time, the inner guard came over. He told Shi Minyi, Chi-Chi is an outstanding player. Besides participating in the competition, he also manages philanthropic organizations protecting global forests. Seeing the other person's smiling face, Shi Minyi asked him, is there something good going on? Naiden was a little embarrassed when he was mentioned. Because my dream is about to come true. For the new generation of superhumans. Shi Minyi is their idol and the superior whom they want to surpass no matter what. 17 years ago, everyone thought Shi Minyi wouldn't come back. The extraordinary individuals who once followed him. All have donned armor and returned to iron. However, the question of who is the strongest superhuman on Earth. I have never heard of Naiden following Shi Minyi. The most mentioned transcendent beings. Best player. For 3 consecutive years. However, he always had a regret in his heart. He never got to fight Shi Minyi, who was known as the strongest on Earth. Now this dream is about to come true. Any Den Xianda Gowai Xingfen. There will be some special cases, which will be led by Shi Minyi and Any Dan respectively for the fight. As for the method of selecting team members, it will be done by rock paper scissors. Both sides quickly chose their team members. Then the 2 teams were transported to the virtual space. What surprised Shi Minyi was that this was just an arena, with no complex structures like those found in the dungeon. It seems that he wants Any Dan to confront him directly. However, this is exactly what Shi Minyi wants. It's just that I don't know who is truly the strongest, the veteran heroes or the newcomers. This is a peak matchup between a veteran hero and a rising star. Although the competition is a team effort. But everyone tacitly gave them enough space. Any Dan initiated the attack first. Leveraging speed advantage. The double swords of the inner single kept waving towards Shi Minyi. However, Shi Minyi is a veteran hero. Shield block. Thrusting spear. The seemingly impenetrable blade moves were all struck by him. After a brief separation, the internal order charged forward again. He knew that dual swords were at a disadvantage in long-range combat. So he had to constantly close the distance to put pressure on his opponent. However, despite his sharp knife skills. Shi Minyi remained calm and collected. Even the flaw he thought he had seen. It's just that Shi Minyi intentionally left it for him. After 3 rounds, Shi Minyi finally got serious. The stiff spear kept thrusting into the other's body. If Naiden's speed wasn't faster than Shi Minyi's, he simply couldn't dodge this powerful attack. What astonished him even more was that Shi Minyi's gun shield was like flowing water, weakening his attack. The restraining gun will be hit. The restraining shield will be stabbed. Moreover, he could not escape from his range of attack. He also kept a distance that made it difficult to attack him. He truly lives up to his reputation as the strongest man on Earth. Not a single flaw can be found on him. Any Dan calms down. It seems that only the inner collar can be used. A flash of light appeared. 2 inner orders appeared at the same time. Yes, this is his superpower clone. Seeing this, Shi Minyi's eyes suddenly became serious. Finally, I've got your avatar. At the same time, the coach and Lu Dan, who had been observing from the sidelines, let out a gasp. The inner lane's weapon was unexpectedly suppressed. This has never happened before. And in the past period of time, Shi Minyi only fought with the people of the underworld. There is no dedicated sparring with transcendent beings. But Any Dan is a combat expert who specializes in defeating humans. However, since the inner single summoned a clone, perhaps the situation will be different. A short sword with an impeccable blade. Not just anyone can handle it. The split inner single quickly attacked Shi Minyi. He originally thought that Shi Minyi would be like other opponents. You pulled back, but he stood there, blocking all your attacks. In just a few seconds, he launched hundreds of attacks, none of which hit the target. This is a completely unwinnable battle. However, judging from the battle traces left behind by Shi Minye's retreat, the opponent's situation is not optimistic either. Yes, at this moment, Shi Minye was already cursing in his heart. The inner singles speed and swordsmanship were even stronger than he had imagined. In a one-on-one situation, I can still suppress the team with my skills. But ever since this guy used the clone skill, his attack methods have increased geometrically. If this continues, the battle will not end in a short time. And the problem is, the longer it drags on, the more disadvantageous it is to us. It seems the only option is to gamble on that method. The man paid the price of an arm. Keiji gon diol shao gaga de yijfinchen. Shi Minye knew very well that it was impossible to secure the domestic orders with conventional tactics. During their rapid pumping, Shi Minye deliberately showed a weakness. Nye Dan, eager to win the battle, took the bait. His clone quickly charged up. Idao bien zandul Shi Minye nes chao mao de show. Seeing this scene, everyone outside the field was stunned. Shi Minye's arms were gone. The victory in this battle probably belongs to Nye Dan. However, at this moment, Shi Minye suddenly laughed. Thank you, Nye Dan. I believe that you will attack, no matter the circumstances. And all along, you've been looking forward to a showdown with me. So I think, you will inevitably let your guard down after landing a winning blow. Even in the shortest moment. It's enough for me to hit the fastest human. Shi Minye's fist slammed down. Nye Dan's clone instantly vanished. Nye Dan looked unwilling. Having lost his clone, he still had his main body. He charged again with his weapon. However, this time his short knife was in front of Shi Minye, but still could not go any further. Blocking his way was the Dahini robot. This time it's a tie, but our team did win. It doesn't matter how fierce the battle is. You must remember that this match is a team competition. Exiting the virtual cabin, Shan Dan couldn't help but sigh. Shi Minye really gave himself a lesson. At this moment, Coach led Litten over and unexpectedly exchanged one of Naiden's clones for an arm. Mr. Shi Minye, you are really amazing. Shi Minye smiled and asked him if there was another competition, and said that if he were to review the previous match, he might be able to find a way to counter the inner lane. Hearing this, the coach was also excited. He said since Shi Minye was so forthcoming, I cannot be stingy either. Then he took Shi Minye to the club's analysis room. He introduced Sana, the person in charge here, to him. Shi Minye was using analytical deduction to check. He found that this person called Sana was of average ability. But since he could become the leader here, he must have abilities beyond the ordinary. Sana explained to him that times have changed. The current transcendent ones are not like they used to be. Analyze his data through the undergrounders. But using the superhuman analysis system ES to complete, he can record all match information and quantify the player's individual ability values. Many large clubs are currently using this system. Listening to the other party's introduction, Shi Minye was somewhat tempted. Although I have my own analysis, I don't need this. But this should be useful for the coaches in her club. Moreover, if there is objective data to support it, Dong Jun should not argue with him about the donkey. But when I think about this thing costing 3.4 billion TND bank, Shi Minye still hesitated. Suddenly he thought of something. He turned to Lu Dan brothers. Let's make a deal. I give you all my battle data. You give me a set of this equipment, and provide me with a person who can operate it. Shi Minye's proposal tempted the Lu Dan brothers. As his ardent fan, they collected countless combat images of Shi Minye. If we could get the battle data for Shi Minye, isn't my collection perfect? So the two of them immediately agreed. Shi Minye smiled brightly at the two of them. Don't worry, this is definitely not a losing deal. Because the next second game will have a big surprise for you. The man just washed his face. Jing discovered she had a new superpower, enhancement. From her existing abilities, she can choose one to enhance. Strengthening any attribute increases its value by 10 points. When selecting a superpower, she can enhance it. Shi Minye was surprised. The acquisition of superpowers is based on the awakening of one's individual characteristics, or suddenly awaken after receiving a strong stimulus from the front. When did I get this superpower? Could it have been when I was concentrating during that battle with Don? Or it might be influenced by willpower. But whatever the case, this is definitely an OP skill. I have several ability values that have already reached the upper limit of 100. If it is further enhanced, it will be absolutely invincible. It just so happens that the second round of the match is about to begin. Use him to practice. As the countdown ends, the second round of the competition has officially begun. Shi Minye chose to strengthen his skills. Now his technical ability value has broken through the upper limit and reached 110. The spear was thrown fiercely. Like an electric Roman emperor, his speed amazed even Naden. However, before he could react, the rapidly spinning spear unexpectedly veered in front of him, directly shattered his own clone. How is it? Unexpectedly, that order has already dropped sharply. Recalling the scene just now, the spear suddenly accelerated and curved mid-flight. Is this Shimen Ye's hidden trump card? But before he could figure it out, Shimen Ye has come up again to take the gun. She just wanted to distance herself from him. But Shimen Ye's spear was like it had eyes. Directly insert into my rear screen. The second round of the competition is over. It took even longer than the first round, and Any Dan was very curious about how Shimen Ye had just done it. He wanted to have another round with him. Shimen Ye originally wanted to take a break, but he agreed under her persistent persuasion. Round 3 officially begins. Any Dan immediately activated her clone. Hee. Using Doppelganger right from the start of the match. It seems you've learned quite a bit. Spear wielded in hand, facing Naiden's double. Shimen Ye chose to strengthen his technique again. 110's attribute completely suppressed the opponent. Looking at the 4 short blades, Shimen Ye was still at ease. Although he could suppress the opponent in battle, his inner single's speed was still above him. Looking at the teammates behind him, Shimen Ye suddenly had a wicked thought. Since you want to play, let's play something different. I can't catch you. Then I'll mess with your head. She jumped into the group of friends. Shimen Ye started a rampage. Sure, he saw his teammate getting killed. Any Dan was indeed a little impatient. He quickly charged toward Shimen Yesha. However, at that time, Shimen Ye had already prepared 2 long spears for him. Okay, let's end the game here today. This male lead is extraordinary. Can also strengthen skills. Round 3 is over. Na Dan was completely defeated, but Shimen Ye still praised him lavishly. From these battles, Any Dan is definitely considered a top-level anti-meta player. No wonder Gerard could not become one of the big 3. The gap between the two is definitely not just a little bit. He also gave Naiden advice on improving, which is to train his muscles. After all, his ability still has room to improve. After a day of team practice, Shimen Ye finally had some time for herself. He couldn't wait to try out the enhanced skills. After strengthening his analysis of the eye, he discovered. Analyzing the glasses, 2 additional attributes were found. They enable observation through visual media. He increased his visible ability values. Shimen Ye used his analysis eyes on himself for a test. It was found that he had gained 2 hidden abilities, leadership and tactics. Both ability values are 100. No wonder he could become the captain of the 7 heroes. Then Shimen Ye enhanced his throwing skills, added an ability to retrieve thrown objects. Although the skill consumes positive, but fortunately it's practical. And in the end, the only skill left is immortality. Shimen Ye felt a little nervous. He couldn't imagine at all what the effect would be like. As enhancing skills activate, Shimen Ye's surroundings unexpectedly turned into a spiritual state. And this situation is gradually eroding his whole body. A flash of light appeared. Shimen Ye had completely become a soul, floating in midair. He can transform into a spirit body composed of positive energy in 120 seconds. He can nullify all attacks. He was stunned that Shimen Ye could penetrate everything. This confirms that he is cheating. Shimen Ye excitedly rushed out of the room. Besides going through walls, he can also fly freely in the air. Just as Shimen Ye was about to go back, a feeling of evil and familiarity suddenly arose. Shimen Ye squeezed his bladder. This aura clearly belongs to the subterraneans. Sensing the other party's location, Shimen Ye suddenly laughed. These bastards are still alive. This is indeed exciting news. Shimen Ye suddenly shot at the opponent. The long hair hit the target with the precision of a missile. Shimen Ye's face lit up with excitement. Great! I can totally feel it. The subterranean man was shot. Just as Shimen Ye was about to go forward and check, the system suddenly sent a prompt. 120 seconds will soon be over. He will return to his physical state. Damn it! I haven't found the subterraneans yet. Amid Shimen Ye's curses, he returned to his physical body in the hotel. He angrily smashed the wall to vent his previous anger. Just as he was about to turn into a spirit again, when searching for the Earth's core people, their aura suddenly disappeared. Meanwhile, in a dimly lit temple, a mysterious person with a trembling hand, reprimanding subordinates. A spear tucked into the subordinate's waist. It was the stroke that Shimen Ye had just shot. Right. The Dishiaoren have never disappeared. They will soon return. Shimen Ye never imagined. The subterranean people he had single-handedly defeated now unexpectedly reappeared in the human world. However, when he entered the spirit state again, he found that the other person's aura had disappeared. This made Shi Minyi suspicious. It was just my illusion, but he just threw his spear, but could not find it after a few days. Luden Xiongbi brought Sana to meet Shi Minyi. Initially, he asked Lu Dan to send him an EAS system device and provide him with a professional operator. And Sana is the person Lu Dan found for him. Shi Minyi used his enhanced analytical eyes to observe, discovering that Shana's 2 hidden attributes were surprisingly high, and his superpower is able to exert super focus. No wonder he can be the coach for 3 years even though his other attributes are ordinary. This guy really has something. He asked the other person if she regretted it. After all, his club is currently at the bottom of the table. Sana said. If it had been before, even if he dies he will not agree. But after watching Shi Minyi's battle footage, he changed his mind. To cultivate a bottom-ranked club in a secondary league into a world-class team. This is a challenge for him, and will also help his career. However, he had one condition: Shi Minyi had to compete 3 times within a year as a contestant. Of course, this doesn't mean that Sana is not confident in herself. After all, it was impossible for Shi Minyi's team to lose. The real reason was that he didn't want his senses to become dulled. After all, the players of YSM are generally average. He just wants to find inspiration in the top players' decisive matches. And he guaranteed that he would lead YSM to the championship trophy within a year. Shi Minyi pondered for a moment, immediately agreed. After returning home, Shi Minyi introduced Sana to everyone. Sana didn't waste any time either. After a brief introduction, the training began. Ever since we had the ES system, the players' abilities are all digitized. This is also convenient for actual training. Although Sana was satisfied with the players' cooperation, she couldn't understand. Why make some strange and overly complicated standards? For example, Zhao Xinghao undoubtedly will become the team's weakness. Sana's words are very reasonable. But Shi Minyi had a different opinion, because his enhanced analytical eyes can see hidden attributes that the ES system cannot. Zhao Xinghao's leadership and tactical skills have improved considerably. With just a little cultivation, she can completely become the vice commander of the team. When she heard Shi Minyi's suggestion, Sana was also stunned, but then she said, he will personally try to guide the other party. Zhao Xinghao finished speaking. Sana mentioned Cui Jingming and the hidden offender again. Cui Jingming, needless to say, both superpower and attribute values are pretty good. But is it really necessary to pay that much attention to that hidden offender? Sana feels that the opponent's superpower is pretty lame. Shi Minyi knew why Sana said that. Because the ES system cannot measure the hidden attributes of the concealed offense skill. He is now 69 years old. If his skills improve a little more, there will be earth-shaking changes. Shi Minyi told Sana not to worry, because he has never misjudged. Sana was stunned by his confidence. He was just about to say something. Shi Minyi interrupted him. Let us wait patiently for a few days. I believe we will win the lottery soon. A hero discarded by others like worn-out shoes. In his eyes, she was a diamond in the rough. Because Shi Minyi has an analytical skill that can see hidden attributes. It's been 2.5 weeks since I came to YSM Club. Sana was completely captivated by Shi Minyi's gaze. From the videos of daily training, Ru Jinghuan, Ji Xiwen, Li Naiyan, Zhao Xinghao, and the 5 people chosen by Shi Minyi, including Cui He, has already become the core of the team. If it had been in the past, Sana would never have believed it. These few people can become the team's backbone, especially Cui He. If it weren't for my meticulousness, it would have been impossible to discover it through the ES system. This made him feel Shi Minyi's profoundness even more. Meanwhile, Ying Fan, who hasn't awakened his hidden skills yet, he is starting to feel discouraged. Now Cui Jingming, who is 1 year younger than him, has become the main force in the team, and he was struggling to keep up with even daily training. He asked Shi Minyi with a distressed look. Was it his misjudgment back then? Shi Minyi looked speechless. Didn't I tell you before? Your superpower evolves through effort. Of course, there is also an element of gambling in this. Big brother, are you kidding with my life? Otherwise, you kid think. Did you spend the last 2.5 years playing basketball? Seeing Ying Fan with a look of dejection, Shi Minyi knew he couldn't let things continue like this. He dragged Ying Fan up the mountain. On the way, he told Ying Fan that he had specially prepared a mindfulness practice method for me. Xing Nian has a characteristic. He only stays in a treasured land that is feng shui compatible with himself. It will become more active. For example, he himself, his mindfulness will become active in the dungeon. Once he enters the dungeon, he will feel like a valuable person. This is why. It's entirely because of his childhood. In the orphanage, he told Ying Fan that everyone has scars. As long as he can overcome it, he is not far from success. He then took Ying Fan to a cave. Before Ying Fan could ask why they were there, Shi Minyi kicked him into the cave. For the next 10 days, you will stay here and think about your nature as a loser. There are also pessimistic and gloomy thoughts. Also, throw the phone up here. If I catch you sneaking up here midway, then you're dead. Ing Fan looked like he had lost the will to live. But looking back on his life, Shi Minye's words were not unreasonable. Is my life really this bad? Ing Fan calmed down. No. Since the world's #1 hero said I can, then I will definitely be able to do it. Focus my energy and feel the positive flow. Thus 10 days passed. When he climbed up to the cave opening, Shi Minye activated the enhanced analysis mode on the phone's surveillance camera. Ha! He actually won the lottery. Climbing up the cave entrance, Ing Fan discovered there was a surveillance camera. Before he could complain, Shi Minye's voice came. There is still some time before the second half of the season. Get familiar with your new superpowers before then. Because the first match is next. This will be your first game as a starter. Day and night defense. Lao Luke Nanfang. Other teams having one sneaky player is enough of a headache. And Shi Minye actually trained a whole team of Lao Lu. The first league of the second half of the year has begun. YSM vs GT Knight. The match began. The GT Knights team was divided into 3 teams according to the 443 formation. And YSM was divided into 2 teams of 5 people each. Ing Fan alone left the team. Seeing this scene, the audience outside was stunned. You should know that the venue for this competition is the upside-down forest. Lurking Jadaluin is definitely not someone a person can hunt. At this moment, the 4-member GT Knights team on the field had encountered the first monster. Just as they were about to hunt, an arrow suddenly shot over. The person who came was Li Nayan, who was responsible for containing the opponent. However, after half a season, other clubs had already found a way to counter this tactic. GT Knight brought a super reversalist with the ability to perceive this time. They gave up chasing Li Nayan and started looking for Zhao Xinghao's location. Regarding Li Nayan's harassment, they rushed forward unsteadily. Soon they discovered that a person was hiding behind a kilometer-long rock. That must be Zhao Xinghao. The GT Knights 4-person team rushed towards the opponent's location. Seeing the GT rider Li Nayan running hurriedly all the way, she thought happily. Good. The first phase of the battle was very successful. The GT Knights quickly found the person hiding behind the rock. However, when he took off his cloak, everyone in the GT Knights was shocked. How is Tank Shuihe? Just then, nearby hunting team members also rushed over. When they saw Zhao Xinghao wearing Shuihe's equipment, the little Gagas all understood. This is a trap. Zhao Xinghao sent the animal equipment to Shuihe. Then Shuihe threw a backpack to the GT Knight. The little Gagas took the backpacks with a look of aggression. It's actually Zadlan seeds. Right. From the start, this was YSM's trap. They sent a team to pretend to hunt and collect seeds, then put it into the backpack that isolates the front. Zhao Xinghao sends it to Shuihe, who then throws it to the opponent. The moment the backpack was opened, the seeds absorbed the surrounding positive energy and began to reproduce rapidly. Countless vines bound Xiao Gaga. And next, it's YSM's massacre time. Meanwhile, the 3 members of the GT Knights received news that their squad had been wiped out. He told the other squad not to panic and finish hunting the few Zadran in front of them. They will meet with him her immediately. Just as the bald man was desperately hunting the monster, he found one of his teammates standing still. Deal with the monster. Baldhead cursed and swore as he walked over. However, he had just touched the other person. The other party knelt down directly. The host's voice echoed throughout the venue. Serving food. Isha. Guangzhou has a fierce face. This is just goddamn unbelievable. At this time, a black shadow was quietly approaching. The real number 6 hidden in the darkness is about to appear. How powerful would a Lao Lu be if they could walk in the shadows? Thanks to his skill advantage, Ming Fan successfully got a double kill. However, while he was dealing with the bald man, he discovered the opponent's reaction was surprisingly fast. This situation is not suitable for a sneak attack. Before the competition, Shi Minye had coached herself. If the surprise attack fails, with his current attributes, it is difficult for him to engage in a direct confrontation. Therefore, he prepared 2 weapons for himself, a crossbow and a short blade. Yin Fan, holding a crossbow, rushed out from the shadows. Shi Minye, who was off the field, looked relieved. Although the crossbow's range is short, it is easy to operate and has a high accuracy rate. After Yin Fan was able to see her situation clearly, she immediately changed her strategy. This is pretty good. However, even so, his first time on stage, it's also difficult to gain the upper hand in a relationship. I hope he doesn't give up on himself. As long as he doesn't give up, there will definitely be a way out. Yin Fan, having exhausted his crossbow bolts, switched to using a short blade to attack. However, just as he launched the charge, a small stone suddenly tripped him. The dog-eating criminal Baldhead looked fierce. What the hell kind of tactic is this? Before he could react, Fan quickly ducked into the place. He is really embarrassed. Being able to enter one's own shadow. Is this your trump card? Hearing the bald man's words, Fan suddenly froze for a moment. This guy seems to not yet understand the situation. This can be used to our advantage. Fan charged out of the shadows again. Guangto is somewhat annoyed. You're Laolu. If I didn't have the skill, I would have killed you long ago. He slashes me. The long saber slashed through. But Fan did not dodge. A finger's distance from Kumba. He was hit on the head, his bald head looking grave. Why didn't he dodge? Mingming can enter her own shadow. But then he realized that his skills must be limited, he cannot adapt infinitely. Since this is the case, then don't blame me. At this moment, Fan was about to lose it. From the beginning, he was showing weakness. Make the other person let down their guard. Finally, the opportunity is here. A long saber slashed toward his face. However, after one strike, the long sword plunged into the ground, chopping so hard. The bald man finally understood, but the knife was stuck and wouldn't come out. This kid's skills have no limits. He's aiming to lure himself in. In the moment he was stunned, Fan appeared behind him with a knife. I forgot to tell you, here I don't need to hide in the shadows at all, because this map itself is in the shadow of the inverted forest. Seeing Fan complete the kill, Shimin Yi revealed the smile of an old father. The game today was really unexpected. At this rate, becoming the champion is a piece of cake. If you set the goal of winning the global championship, wouldn't it be more interesting? A glowing stone. It is the key to opening a treasure chest. Ever since Sana joined the club, Shimin Yi didn't care much about taking sides. This day he was bored at home. Suddenly, an old friend came to visit. Eric Turan, one of the last 7 heroes. He is also known as the Red Star of Bai State, a term of respect. Tulan, upon learning that Shimin Yi was going to the Bai Kingdom, wanted to meet him for a drink. The result was a waste of time when they were shipwrecked in the middle of the ocean. He then chased him to this country. Looking at the dark-faced, simple man in front of her, Shimin Yi also felt very close to him. Tulan possesses 2 skills, bad luck and the instinct to survive. Even when she is at her wit's end, she can still turn bad luck into fortune. At this moment, Bai Jihu's wife came out of the room. She saw her husband's brother come. He seemed very excited too. A table full of delicious food and good company to drink with. The 3 of them ate with great enjoyment. Tulan told Shimin Yi that he actually had a gift for him on this trip. He then took out a glowing stone from his backpack. This is the time when the dungeon returns. Seeing this stone, Shimin Yi was also shocked. In the Superman era, this stuff was everywhere. But now, he is Shimin Yi's priceless treasure, because of him. Then he can go back to that place, after Turan and Salsawa finished their 2 days here. He packed up and left. Before leaving, he asked Shimin Yi to visit him when he had time. Tulan left. Shimin Yi also started to tidy up. Bai Jihu looked astonished. Where are you going so early in the morning? Of course, it's my secret base. Before Bai Jihu could ask further, Shimin Yi has already gotten on his motorcycle. In the mountains outside the city, Shimin Yi carried his luggage, searching for traces of the past. I didn't expect that Tulan would have something like this with him. The magic stones I collect. Rushed into the mountains. Not long after, he arrived at the entrance of a cave blocked by a boulder. Behind the giant rock hides an entrance to an underground city. That's right. This is Shimin Yi's secret base. Back then, as long as you cleared the dungeon and used the return skill without destroying the dungeon core, you could do this. Create an empty, deserted underground city. At the beginning, Shimin Yi did it for the convenience of storing his spoils of war. I deliberately created this secret base, and I didn't expect to have the chance to open it again. The familiar scent of the dungeon excited him. Originally, he thought he had adapted to modern life. But coming here, he realized it was all an illusion. The dungeon is his true home. Just as Shimin Yi was basking in this joy, a strange aura appeared from behind him and quickly dissipated. Shimin Yi looked surprised. How could there be other creatures here? There's no sign of anyone entering. Could it be? Thinking of this, Shimin Yi tightened the long hair in his hand. Could it be that the Earth people are still alive? This is truly exciting news. 17 years ago, the underground city was purged. Now, the monster's aura has appeared again. Although she didn't know who the other person was, Shimin Yi was very excited. He desperately needs a good fight. Let out your inner power. He rushed toward the room in the middle of the dungeon. Just as he was crossing the bridge and about to enter the room, a laser beam rapidly descended, hurtling straight towards the face. Shimin Yi pointed his finger, and quickly pulled his body back. Looking up, he suddenly felt uninterested. What appeared before him was a large Zadlan. Although not an underground dweller, this thing is enough to make him feel good. And looking at his size, all the treasures in his warehouse must have been eaten. Yes, Jadalun is a monster who even dares to eat Debian. He is also a Zajalin, the crop of the underground people, whose body stores positive energy. And the Earthlings happen to be able to extract the positive from them. But why is this here? Could it be that Zadarin's seed was missed when the dungeon was raided back then? Although this is very likely. But Shi Men-yi is a meticulous person. Every time he completes a raid, he will search the dungeon thoroughly. Destroy all the seeds? Shi Men-yi really couldn't understand why. But let's deal with him first. Jia Deluan's vine tentacles attacked toward Shi Men-yi. Shi Men-yi held the gun in both hands. Standing still blocks all attacks. Seizing an opportunity, Shi Men-yi unhesitatingly launched a strengthened throw. The stiff spear is like a missile. He shot directly at the opponent, accompanied by a loud boom. Zajalin has completely fallen. This is ridiculously weak. Shi Men-yi retracted his long spear. He was frantically outputting on Zadarin's corpse. It seemed that only in this way could he vent his discontent. 1 hour later, Shi Men-yi cleaned all the seeds. At the same time, he also left one as a souvenir. Inside the warehouse, Shi Men-yi found that it had indeed been completely cleared out by the other party. However, there is one room here that Jia Deluan can never open. That is Shur, who guards the core of the underground city. Shi Men-yi deliberately cast a seal here, and he put the magic stone in the room. It seems the door is intact. Shi Men-yi pushed the door open and entered. However, the next second he was stunned. The room is empty except for the core. Nothing else. Magic stones are shining stones for humans, but for subterranean people, they are like oil and coal. Could there really be subterranean people here? Just then, Shi Men-yi's bladder suddenly swept something on the ground. Isn't this my gun? When confirming that this is his own weapon, Shi Men-yi suddenly understood. It was definitely not an illusion that was discovered in the Kingdom of Coins. That subterranean person must have escaped to this place. This is really it. After a close observation, Shi Men-yi seemed to understand everything. If I'm not mistaken, the Earthlings must be raising Jadalun here. This stone should also have an alarm device installed. Just then, a strange aura suddenly emerged from behind him. Turning around, a mysterious figure cloaked in a cape appeared in the bloody haze. Seeing this, Shi Men-yi laughed excitedly. Damn you, the people underground. You are still alive. The underground people who disappeared for 17 years have reappeared. Shi Men-yi could laugh himself to sleep. He has been back on Earth for almost a year. Shi Men-yi desperately missed the feeling of raiding dungeons. The underground people's rank is distinguished by the color of their faces. This level 3 red, front-facing undergrounder is right up Shi Men-yi's alley. When he saw Shi Men-yi's playful expression, the subterranean people roared. Lowly humans! Why are you here? Shi Men-yi let out a ghostly laugh. You lowly human. If I tell you your civilization was destroyed by the lowly humans you speak of, how would you feel? But then again, humanity should be grateful to you. Because you were once our prey. Just like you collected Zadron. People use the money they earn from hunting to eat and drink, and enjoy themselves. It really makes us earn money. Hearing this, the ground dweller could no longer hold back. The red front transformed into pythons appearing behind him. Similarly, Shi Men-yi also raised his long spear, preparing to fight. Pythons rapidly rushed towards him. However, after an explosion, Shi Men-yi is gone. Do you know? The core of your sacred land is the biggest one I have ever seen. Shi Men-yi moved around her. The spear in his hand twitched incessantly. The subterranean people desperately used the front to block. But at this moment, something else shocked him even more. That is the core of the Holy Land, which is never shown to outsiders. Even the low-level underground people cannot see it. Why can this human know this? Seeing the other party's fierce expression, Shi Men-yi grinned. I forgot to introduce myself. I am Shi Men-yi, who destroyed the last underground city 17 years ago. Hearing this name, the underground people were immediately filled with rage. Shi Men-yi was the enemy of their people. He frantically attacked Shi Men-yi. However, this was the feeling that Shi Men-yi wanted. The long spear, like his own kunba, unleashed a torrent of attacks upon his opponent. Rotating from time to time. Sometimes he pulls out the nimble long spear, eager to launch missiles. He pinned the subterranean person against the wall. Shi Men-yi man walked toward the other person nonchalantly. It's really disappointing. I didn't expect your attack to be so simple. Activate the analyzer. The opponent's attributes are indeed very high, and his identity is only a probe. Right, the undergrounders don't have names. They only use duties to identify themselves. Exploration is used to find the subterranean people who can access positive locations. a character similar to a queen consort. The spear that pierced the subterranean creature's chest. Shimin-Yi forcefully blew a puff. Where are your remnants? The white front-ground people fighting in the Holy Land are quite interesting. Are there still people like that? Oh, right. His name is the Jaisai, I think. The subterranean man gritted his teeth and looked at Shimin-Yi. You really are a proud human. But you are going to meet our immortal ancestor soon. The great ancient light once prophesied. The prophet has arrived in this land. He will lead us to the light. At the same time, the subterranean people have launched a self-destruction. The explosion rocked the entire underground city. The thick smoke dissipated, and he had completely turned into a sentence. Only slightly conscious conversation. When seeing Shimin-Yi, who had transformed into a spiritual body, the people underground became extremely excited. The great prophet. Are you here to lead me to the light? Shimin-Yi felt a burst of irritation. Are you crazy? Go die now. A man who can't even take a nuclear bomb with him. What else could be a worry? Shimin-Yi originally wanted to make this an underground city, transforming it into a future residence. Unexpectedly, subterranean people suddenly appeared. It's a mess. It seems like I'm destined for this life. I will live with my sister-in-law. However, Shimin-Yi felt strange. What the hell are the primordial light and the prophet that the other party mentioned? Is there already a prophet who has achieved spiritual awakening? He remembered 17 years ago, while raiding dungeons. I also heard from the underground people that if all of this is true, then why the people underground did not anticipate their own negativity. And even if a prophet appeared, reviving the underground civilization would not be easy. Back then, he destroyed all the dungeon models. And according to the researchers at that time, the core sacred city of the subterranean people will take at least 10,000 years to witness. Leaving other things aside, they can't afford to waste this time. It seems the subterranean people from just now. A spy barely clinging to life. Thinking of this, Shimin-Yi felt a little disappointed. He originally wanted to have a hearty fight with the other party. The results felt from that subterranean person. Only despair and fear. Previously, they would call their companions for help when they self-destructed. But this time, he seemed to have no energy even to summon. Shimin-Yi trembled, feeling utterly bored. He decided to go home. Right after Shimin-Yi left, the dungeon suddenly lit up again. A subterranean person came into the room. He looked at the corpses all over the floor. He sighed. What a pity for this Zaidluan. But what's more interesting is that Shimin-Yi is actually still alive. This time, I will tear that guy to pieces. Just then, a white-haired man walked up. As you wish. The 3 generations of adults on the other side. Baiji who saw Shimin-Yi come back so early, teasing him about whether he went mountain climbing. Did you bring some wild mountain ginseng for yourself? Shimin-Yi glanced at him indifferently. Immediately handed him a bottle. How much is this thing worth now? Baiji who took the bottle with a fierce look on his face. The next second, he was stunned. Where did you get the Zadaran seeds? Shimin-Yi man said casually. This is what I found in the warehouse. He brought it back with him. Baiji whose face was covered in cold sweat. Don't you know this? Can a city be destroyed? Do you know that 99% of the people in the city are outside of the war and the wind? They are all ordinary people now, with no remarkable status. Anyway, I will take action. Just tell me how much this thing can sell for now. As far as I know, there should be institutions studying underground civilizations in this era. I just want to contribute to their research. To make a little contribution and get some money for myself. Don't be so nervous. Baiji's face was speechless. The institution is indeed interested in the price, but I'm afraid you'll have to ask our elder brother about this matter. Because this organization is the World War and Wind Association. This is a girl who can only be admired from afar, not played with. Just mentioning her name. There must be someone who hates him so much that his teeth itch. Li Nian, who was trained by Shimin-Yi, gifted at containing opponents. The sword drips with juice. Plus the extremely irritating animal that made every opponent who fought him. Everyone wanted to cheer him up on the spot. Looking at Li Nian's attribute panel, Shimin-Yi felt very pleased. Although he doesn't come to the club often, Li Nian has made great progress, and his tactical growth is also very high. As long as his attributes are improved, I believe he can also become as popular as any Dan. Until he truly becomes YSM's signature star. He could make a fortune on his own. After all, judging from the current competition, more than half of the audience came to see him. He will rush out from the shadows. The audience hasn't seen clearly. He returned to the shadows once again. After winning the last regular season game, YSM successfully entered the playoffs. Baiji also came to the scene to bless Shimin-Yi. At the same time, he told Shimin-Yi, I came here on behalf of the World Association to apply for the retrieval of Zadaran seeds. Shimin Yi looked at him with disdain. You were so surprised back then. The association members arrived so late. I thought you didn't accept it. Bai Jihu felt a little embarrassed, and immediately changed the subject. Wisen is now at the peak of its success. But the playoff teams are no pushovers. He asked Shimin Yi if she was confident of winning the championship. Shimin Yi grinned. Such a sure thing, don't ask about it later. Shimin Yi's confidence surprised Bai Jihu. Could it be that you have a hidden secret weapon? Just you wait and see. At this moment, Wisen's head coach Sana was being interviewed by a reporter. The host asked him about his plans for the upcoming playoffs. Sana glanced at the other person indifferently, indicating that the championship trophy belonged to them. The host was also surprised by Sana's confidence. Sana explained to him. Their boss, Shimin Yi, promised him that he would participate in 3 competitions within a year. Hearing this, Bai Jihu's glasses almost fell off. Look, isn't this cheating? The strongest hero on earth is coming to participate in the new hero fighting competition. Isn't this just for picking dishes? As the club owner, Shimin Yi couldn't be easily criticized by his team members. He was forced to accept this reality of winning without effort. Sana then began to brief everyone on the battle plan. The opponent in the first game of the playoffs is ICBC, who is ranked 3rd. Counter strategies against Wisem's old 6th tactic. They recruited a player with tracking abilities in the last transfer window, Han Xingye. Although his attributes are not outstanding, but his skill can target 5 opponents for tracking. This skill completely restricted the movements of Yin Fan and Zhao Xinghao. Just one glance was enough. Although they won't explode, they are basically crippled. Moreover, in battle, this skill of the opponent allows them to have priority over the battle entrance. Shimin Yi told everyone not to be nervous. He had already thought of a countermeasure. This competition would be between Zhao Xinghao and him. He wanted to try something. The competition day came quickly. After this period of online hype, Shimin Yi's participation has become a global hot topic. The once neglected national second-tier league. It has also become the focus of the world. Shimin Yi felt the audience's enthusiasm as soon as he appeared on stage. This damn person's temperament is just unbearable. The usually taciturn Cyan found it a bit unbearable. Boss, can we have some dignity, please? Both opponents met before the match. ICBC's contestants all have bitter melon faces. This feels like eating a of watery diarrhea. On the contrary, everyone at Ysem was beaming with pride because the boss had joined them. This is definitely a sure win. Shimin Yi immediately activated the analysis eye. None of them could fight. The competition begins. Zhao Xinghao was still looking for a safe place. This time, he also brought a telescope. As the countdown ends, everyone rushed out according to the plan. Only Shimin Yi was still doing warm-up exercises on the spot. On the other side, the 6-member team of ICBC has finished the first wave of hunting. From the beginning, they were using Han Xingye's skills. Track down the whereabouts of Shimin Yi and the others. Their plan is to delay the competition as long as possible. To narrow the gap with Shimin Yi by hunting. In the Battle Wind and Cloud system, you can collect hunting points to enhance your mindfulness and ability values. As long as this mechanism is used flexibly, the gap between players can be narrowed. If they had fought against Shimin Yi from the start, they would have been defeated quickly. ICBC reduced their melee output to minimize the chances of encountering Shimin Yi. He increased the remote output and took the initiative to track Rina Yen, Zhao Shenho, and Yin Fan from afar. Prioritize eliminating the flanking squad. Of course, 2 necessary conditions are needed here. First, Ysem uses a containing tactic. It cannot meet Shimin Yi before it is fully grown. At this time, Xiaogaga's Nian had already turned purple. Just as they thought they had it half in the bag, a sudden spear thrust to the face. Xiaogaga tilted her head. But Han Xingyi, who was behind him, was stabbed right through the heart. Everyone was shocked. Shimin Yilian did not even leave her birthplace. Then it achieved long-range throwing. Was this trick successful? Yes. Super long-distance throwing plus weapon recovery skill. Let Shimin Yi be able to attack and kill as soon as he steps out of the door. And the one responsible for transmitting vision to him is Zhao Xinghao with a telescope. To throw one's own spear using someone else's bladder. This wave of anti-aircraft missiles is really slippery. The innocent Xiaogaga all have a look of fierce intimidation. The man at the head of the group asked anxiously where the second squad was, only to receive news that they had been ambushed by Shimin Yi. Xiaogaga despaired. She could not even see a person. This he aimed at also played a spear. Right. This is the tactic that Shimin Yi Xian has newly developed. Use Zhao Xinhao's vision to complete his kill. At first, Shimin Yi couldn't hit the target during training. Many factors affect this, such as distance, sharpness, and angle. However, Shimenya quickly found his rhythm. It was like two people playing poker. Even without turning on the light, it can still achieve accurate guidance. With this move, Shimenya dominated the competition. She felt that this was just an appetizer. It is so delicious that you just want to keep eating more. Sana's assessment of this move was that it was amazing. Unparalleled, no doubt, when seeing Shimenya's performance. But I have never seen him use this move before. The ICBC members on the field were about to cry. Not only need to guard against Shimenya's sneak attack. Even the monster they were about to hunt. Shimenya also occasionally snatches it away. Anything he locks onto will be pierced. The key is that he's getting more and more into killing. Yutunin can't hold back anymore. We should retreat quickly. But at this moment, a long hair suddenly shot out. Yutunin tried his best to block with the shield. The long hair was firmly stuck in the ground. Zyagagas breathed a sigh of relief. That was close. He almost died. Shimenya officially used the weapon to create the shadow. Send the shadow clone over. Get ready to embrace the joy of a sixth player. Meanwhile, other members of the YSM team are also fully developed. And in the next battle, even if Shimenya doesn't make a move, undoubtedly, the match is over. Shimenya undoubtedly became the MVP of the game. Amidst the cheers of the crowd, Shimenya arrived at the lounge. Sana said the game was visually stunning and the audience's reaction was very enthusiastic. Shimenya chuckled. Since that's the case, let's end the performance. From now on, I'll be serious. Nyekai is like an appetizer. It is so delicious that you just want to keep eating more. The second match between YSM and ICBC was in Xianxiao City. This is a tower of 8 made up of countless bridges. But some of these bridges have rescue towers. Some of them are illusions. This requires the players to be extremely cautious. It is also known as the Newbie Crusher Dungeon. The match began. All members of the YSM team fought against the Warcraft. Wraith spiders can hunt fire elementals with their webs and turn her into a zombie forever. The monster's realistic restoration reminded Shimenya of his days in the dungeon. Seeing the number of monsters in front of them, Shimenya instructed his team to deal with the weaker zombies. And all 8 undead spiders were left to her. Having said that, she activated Enhanced Throw. A long spear, 8 feet long, was held between his fingertips. He used both hands with force. The spear seemed to have grown eyes. He accurately shot at the 8 undead spiders. The sound of explosion and screams, and the sound of Jishui stabbing his sword echoed through the dungeon. Shimenya became more and more excited as he killed. This stunned her own teammates. Could the boss be on drugs? It only took 2.5 minutes. All the surrounding monsters were swept away. Looking at the whole battlefield, the wind and clouds are calm. This speed is also quite explosive. Shimenya called Zhao Xing over. Let him use positive transmission to share his positive points with other teammates. Just then, a sudden burst of noise came from a ravine. Put your hands up. You are surrounded. Boss, what should we do? They blocked us on the bridge. Hua Mao was also excited. See how you escape. Archers, get ready. This scene made Shimenya laugh out loud. You idiots came up with this battle plan? It was hard on you. Then let's go together now. Have a taste of freefall. Xiao Gaga looked fierce. At this moment, Shimenya was activating the weapon retrieval. The spear that was just thrown. Not yet had time to collect. However, there is one thing to note. The spear will return at the speed it was previously launched. This will inevitably destroy the surrounding arrow's speed. As expected, including his own teammates. Everyone's feet were on broken pieces, falling together toward the depths of the cylinder. Right. From the start, Shimenya had already planned the structure of this underground city. He had long since memorized it by heart, so before retrieving the spear, he had his team members stand in a safe location. All the members of YSM fell on the Rio Bridge. And ICBC's little ducks. Not falling for illusions. It's just a fake bridge that crumbles at the touch. But just watch them freefall. It cannot make Shimenya go. He must wait until they all land. Kill 6 members. Shimenya fell down like a killing god. One shot, one pull, deliver. Take the children away. A short 2.5 seconds. He has achieved a quadra kill. The crowd outside the arena witnessed this entire scene. Is this something a human can do? After the martial arts killing, Shimenya pointed his spear towards the last little duckling to fall. Spear pierced the chest. Shimenya, riding Xiao Gaga, descended from the sky. Haha, this final move, human surfing, how do you feel? One shot, one little, GAGA. This man is on a killing spree. The 6 members of the ICBC team. Like unboxed hawthorn berries. Shimenya defeated the rest of the 5. They were all in despair. This is freaking a headkiss magic. The gun fired. Zongxiang Sihua, Simonai He Lei Tang Ji Shi Heng Tui Shongren. From beginning to end. He didn't even have time to take off his pants. Xi Minyi completed the 11 stops alone. Such results in the World League. This is also a very explosive presence. The audience was boiling over. This ticket is definitely the most worthwhile item they have ever bought. The match ended. Li Neian excitedly ran to congratulate him. Xi Minyi shrugged. So what if I'm beating up weaklings? Even in the charity competition at the Bi Lian team headquarters. Li Neian was also beaten by me like a dog. She had cold sweat all over her face. You are comfortable, but the guys at ICBC are devastated. Xi Minyi told Sana that he would not play in the next matches. Anyway, their opponent's morale had already been worn down by him. If I can't win this way, I'll just go home and sleep. The first game of the playoffs is over soon. Ysum won with an absolute advantage of 3 consecutive wins. Then in the second game of the playoffs, the same formula plays out again. Xi Minyi uses absolute strength. It interprets to the world who is the strongest on earth. Luden brothers even released news that they would even go bankrupt. They were also willing to buy him back. Meanwhile, the teacher in Country C, one of the 7 heroes of the past, Emre Kasa, the head coach of the Steel Legion. She also lost her composure. In countless war-torn clubs, there are 3 top teams. The first is the European Spark run by Lu Dan brothers. They are centered around internal alchemy and machinery. The lineup is incredibly star-studded. The next is the mobile hub centered around Gerard. Finally, it was the Iron Legion led by Kasa. They also have Daniel Mans, one of the 3 giants. He always crushes his opponents with perfect strategies. Among these 3 teams, the team run by Lu Dan brothers and the team led by Kasa. They are long-standing rivals in European leagues. It can be said that who owns the Xi Minyi? Who can lift the championship trophy? Kasa found the boss. To tell your ideas to the other person. However, the boss was confused. As the boss, he has always respected every decision made by Kasa, but it's also a well-known fact that he and Xi Minyi don't get along. That's right. 17 years ago, Xi Minyi and Kasa often argued over some style issues. The other team members were used to it. The boss told Kasa that the donkey at Shimanai was untamable, let alone Kasa being the head coach of the team. He asked the other person to calm down. The Steel Legion, though being the perennial runner-up, is still one of the world's top teams. However, Kasa was not happy. He rattled off a bunch of data and reasons. The boss was annoyed by his words. Alright, just tell me how much you want. Kasa had a serious face, and wanted to snatch the person from Ludan. We need to prepare at least 18 million euros. Hearing this, the boss could no longer hold back. It's all about whether I'm worth a single glance. From being timid and hesitant to being bold and decisive, Xi Minyi was lost in the cheers of the audience. He had only promised Sana to fight 3 times a year. But now, he is a fixture in every playoff game. Sana, the head coach, couldn't stand it anymore. The boss. Can we just face reality for a moment? I'm still hoping to train my team through competitions. You are a winner from the moment you are born. What else can I do? Even if I say that. Xi Minyi still insisted he was playing one last game. Just as the two were still bickering with each other, Dongjuan weakly raised her hand to report. Xi Minyi looked speechless, saying that he had received a lot of transfer applications recently. Does this need to be reported? Of course, all rejected. Boss, he wants you. I heard the transfer fee is 100 billion. Hearing this price, Sana almost wanted to sell Xi Minyi for money. With this money, we should be able to buy some good players to advance to the European League. Xi Minyi was speechless. The European League? Shouldn't we be aiming for the World Championship League? Sana shook her head, indicating it was absolutely impossible, even with the boss's capabilities. He can only beat his opponents in the national games. He can't do so in world-class competitions. He cannot complete a solo kill of 11 people. Although Xi Minyi was a little unconvinced, he didn't dare to guarantee. He had witnessed that Shan's strength back then. If there are truly 11 people with such strength, even if I am strong, I may not be able to buy them. Xi Minyi asked him if recruiting some foreign players would be enough. Sana looked speechless. Which foreign player would come to this kind of team? House, car and money. It is impossible for anyone to agree if anything is missing. Moreover, good foreign players are already signed. At most we can only introduce some unknown potential players. Even so, the possibility of development for the National League is very low. Except for myself, the one who is being taken advantage of, it is almost impossible for anyone else to be willing to come here. Hearing this, Xi Minyi fell silent. It seemed he had to find some potential candidates to train. After the playoffs, Xi Minyi called Shana and Dongjun to his office. The 7 main players of the team are now in place. He wants to recruit a faster off-tank. There is also as much progress output as possible. More importantly, there is good long-range output. Li Nian's watch is excellent, but the damage is not enough. If there is a stronger output, the team's martyrs can make up for it. He said this and handed out a list. This means he persuaded them to join his team while he was transferring. Sana picked up the list and looked at it. Dongjuan also curiously glanced from behind. But the next second he froze. Boss, are you serious? Do you really want to bring that person in? Since Sana joined, Shimin-Ye found it much easier to manage the club. Even the supplementary professions in the team. He has planned everything for Shimin-Ye. However, Shimin-Ye had his own thoughts. After observing the playoffs and evaluating the players, Shimin-Ye prepared a special roster of players. There are 29 players in total. Shimin-Ye wants to poach them all in the winter transfer market, and make the members she selects become the main force of the team. However, the ideal is very plump. Reality is harsh. Shimin-Ye's first school was called Ji. The fat man told him. He wanted 2 players, one of whom was taken by Shuangxing. Another one has already retired. Because she is young and relies on the property left by her parents. Achieving financial freedom, Shimin-Ye was speechless for a while, turning around to leave. But at this moment, Pangzi called out to him. This indicates he also has a student named Yongming, graduated last year. This kid has already given up on the chaos of war. He was lost and confused. He also heard that he was hanging out with a bad crowd. Shimin-Ye felt a burst of irritation. Do you think this is my garbage dump? Fatty told him Yongming's talent was actually not bad. Previously, he was also in the station output position. He could tell Yongming was different from those punks. He didn't want him to just waste away like this. Shimin-Ye pondered for a moment. Isn't it just asking me to teach this kid a lesson and let him return to the battlefield? In that case, then let's talk about the location. Soon Shimin-Ye met Yongming at an internet cafe. As Fatty said, this kid's attribute growth is pretty good, but he just hasn't been trained properly. It seems like it's been abandoned for too long. In order to not let others recognize me, Shimin-Ye put on a helmet to greet the other person. The little gangster with him was not happy. Who are you looking at? Wearing a broken helmet, what are you pretending to be? Shimin-Ye did not spoil him. Directly go up is a set of military physical boxing. Someone is looking for trouble. The gangster's companion took out a fruit knife. He was about to step forward to avenge his elder brother. But at this moment, Yongming suddenly recognized Shimin-Ye's eyes. He was about to stop his companion. It might be too late. That's it. After a harsh scolding, Zyagagas are all put away. He took off his helmet and strode toward the rainforest. Young man, let's talk. At this moment, at the corner of the internet cafe, a girl wearing a white hat is pointing her phone at Shimin-Ye. Brothers, something big happened. The helmet guy taught the hoodlum a lesson. It's actually Shimin-Ye, this crawling girl. To live stream something exciting. Even lost his underwear. But the effort always pays off. Shimin-Ye beats up the punks. It was all live-streamed. After finishing a set of military boxing, Shimin-Ye felt much more relaxed. He asked Yongming if she wanted to join his club. Who would have thought that this young man would be so disrespectful? Sat back down at the computer as if nothing had happened, ready for another round. He didn't believe that Shimin-Ye would attack him just because he didn't join the war. But he was still wrong. After another beating, Shimin-Ye dragged him, intending to take him to a deserted place. However, at this moment, Shimin-Ye saw the girl crawling on the ground. Are you secretly filming me? Delete it before I get angry. The girl said it wasn't a sneak shot. It's a live stream. Shimin-Ye repeatedly circled his face. Since returning to Earth, he hasn't come into contact with these advanced things yet. He curiously stepped forward to check. The live stream is full of people trying to stir up trouble. Seeing Shimin-Ye show her face, someone directly brushed 1000 Xingxing Tenggu. This made the girl very excited. He started freestyling right there, which completely stunned Shimin-Ye. Have young people degraded to this point? Later he learned something about live streaming from the girl, and he stood in front of the live stream and shouted across the air. Today's incident is just to educate the misguided youth. He has reached an understanding with the person involved. If he finds out that the reporters in front of the screen are writing nonsense in the news, he will definitely find the other person through the internet and give him a good lesson. Having explained these things, Shimin-Ye sent the girl away. He questioned Yongming why he did not want to participate in the war. Yongming looked wronged and said, "This is a long story. My parents fell in love early, so I took care of my grandfather and myself during my confinement period and worked to earn money for my milk and tuition. The key is that her dad is addicted to playing cards and drinking alcohol." Shimin-Ye couldn't hold it in anymore. "Can you speak properly?" Shimin-Ye looked at him fiercely. Yongming spoke again, his voice soft and gentle. "Actually, He also longed to become a War of the Wind and Clouds player. When he was a junior player. Once, my father got drunk and accidentally set the house on fire. Grandpa and Grandma almost died. To protect Grandpa and Grandma, from then on, he gave up being a player. However, his former teammates are now all professional players. She felt both pain and envy as she saw them. Yongming complained about the past with grievance. However, she had only just begun to speak. Shiminya lifted him up again. Damn it, why are you so dramatic? I'll just ask you one question. Whether I become a contestant or not is up to you, but I have a condition. Please help me educate my father. This will make him never dare to drink again. Shimin-yi was startled. My goodness, you are such a filial son. Don't you worry about making your father laugh to death? The father who loved playing cards and drinking had a very filial son. To help himself quit drinking. Looking for someone to educate himself. Shimin-ye's approach was also very direct. That is to teach him how to be a man with a wine bottle. From now on, he will be afraid of bottles. Compared to Yongning, the second player recruited by Shimin-yi from the West Gate was much more obedient. Jin Jinshu has a regeneration and sacrifice skill. As a tank, although his muscle value is not high, it is at least 80 online. Plus 91 willpower, 81 agility, and 88 endurance. These attributes perfectly match the agile tank that Coach Sana wants. According to the regular recruitment process, Shimin-yi asked what he thought her strengths were. Jin Jinshu was not modest. Shimin-yi Lalu expressed her anger and asked if he wanted to come to their club. I thought I had to continue bluffing. Jin Jinshu agreed without a second thought. After all, Shimin-yi has cultivated a blockbuster hero. It is already well known. At the same time, Dong Jun was still surprised at the boss. Why is that person listed as a candidate? But Sana looked fierce. What's the problem? That player has some mental issues. But the ability value is still good. Speaking of which, Dong Jun had a worried look on his face. You don't know the conflict between him and the boss. Right. The candidate that Dong Jun is worried about. It was Xiao who had been beaten up by Shimin-yi before. Bai Jihua accepted Shimin-ye's proposal. He was kicked out of the national team. Annoyed, he abstained from alcohol all day to relieve his sorrow. However, he didn't know that Shimin-ye had already set his sights on him. Deal with him. Shimin-yi still uses the old method of stuffing grass with a stick. He said that he has been kicked out of the national team and his value will plummet soon. His reputation will become worse and worse. However, he will give him a chance to start over. That's joining his drama club. Xiao was furious on the spot. It was you damn it, who got me kicked off the national team. Do you think I will believe you? Shimin-yi backhanded a slap. You little brat, how dare you speak to me so disrespectfully? He was beaten up again, from head to toe. Xiao became completely honest. Shimin-yi told him to try to have a good relationship with him, saying that he only needed to say a word to Bai Jihu. He can make the other person return to the national team. He advised Xiao not to have other ideas. During wartime, there was once a troublemaker who was even worse than him. Finally, after his training, now has become the hero of Asper. If you want to realize your dream of becoming a champion, the best approach is to stick to your own path and do your own thing. He asked his father with a surprised expression. Don't you dislike Shimin-yi? And that Bai Jihu, you two have always been at odds, haven't you? Father said earnestly. How could I hate a hero who saved the world? The reason I oppose Bai Jihua. I just don't want to see the hero who saved the world being scolded. As a coach, Bai Jihu's ability is indeed questionable. But if Shimin-yi can intervene in the national team through him, I am very welcoming. And now YSM Club has Coach Sana. This is a great master whom the national team couldn't even invite back then. Xiao became fierce. But Shimin-yi hates me. Are you not afraid of having no descendants if you send me to YSM? Father chuckled. Do you know, Xiaolan and Kasa didn't get along with him either. But in the end, they conquered the final dungeon together. He even sacrificed his life for it. Shimin-ye's pattern is far bigger than you imagine. Join YSM. You'll see the difference soon. You will complete your transformation. He has been busy for 2.5 weeks. Only recruited 3 players. 2 of them were problematic teenagers. Sana found it increasingly difficult to understand her boss, especially Yongning. He really couldn't see any merit in the other party. In fact, this isn't Sana's fault. The ES system can only measure the player's actual data. Can't see their upper limit. Shimin-yi told him to be patient. After all, she has been decadent for a year and needs time to recover. But then again, there are still a few players. Shimin-yi also had no moves left. Currently, all potential state-owned athletes had been taken away. And some have already been finalized. He has no idea where to start. Sana told him to go abroad and have a look around. After all, 5 outsiders are allowed in the Manhwa phonium competition. Busy all day back home. It turned out that Bai Xiaoyan came back. After this period of training, Bai Xiaoyan's various attributes have improved. It seems that Lu Dan brothers are cultivating Bai Xiaoyan. He did put in the effort. What surprised Ximenyi even more was Bai Xiaoyan's leadership and tactical skills are both very high. It seems like he is very suitable to be the captain. Just then, Bai Jihua suddenly returned. Ximenyi, who hadn't had time to put away his skills yet, Peng Guang glanced at the other person. Leadership 51. Tactics 62. Ximenyi was completely speechless. No wonder the national team was trained by him into this mess. Feelings always have a reason. He sighed. Tell Bai Jihu not to work so hard in the future. Because he knew he had tried his best. Bai Jihu's face flushed crimson. Later, everyone ate together. Speaking of Ximenyi's recruitment, Bai Jihu told him that if he wanted to find reinforcements, he could go to Tigwa to take a look. Bai Xiaoyan's face lit up with excitement upon hearing this. He said that if his uncle was going to serve the country, he also followed. And he heard about the superhuman of Tigwa. They are all uncle's fans. There, the number of people using long spears is as high as 70%. Xia Yan's words made Ximenyi feel very happy. Immediately agreed to his request to go to Tigwa. Hearing this, Bai Jihu's heart sank. This time, Xiao Yu wouldn't leave himself behind to watch the house and take his wife and children out, would he? Xia Yan told him not to worry. This time he planned to go with his uncle alone. That's it. The two of them flew to Tigwa. Just got out of the airport. Ximenyi discovered someone was picking him up. Timur was a superhuman who once fought with Ximenyi. Although he did not make it into the 7 heroes, he was still ranked among the top 20 in terms of strength. Ximenyi didn't expect the other party to come pick him up in person. Timur said, I saw it on the news. Moreover, he is now the president of the Substitute Association, and he also runs a club. He immediately invited him to choose a fish at his club when he heard that Ximenyi was going to select foreign players. Ximenyi did not refuse and followed him to the club. However, just as they arrived at the club entrance, a flash of gunfire suddenly shot out. Ximenyi dodged quickly. But in the next second, a graceful figure charged forward. He moved swiftly and nimbly with a few dazzling slashes. Ximenyi pulled away from her. Looking closely, it was a long-haired girl. Are you Ximenyi? I am Sania. Can you practice with me? What makes a man look at a woman only once? He immediately firmly stated that he would definitely take responsibility for him. The moment Ximenyi arrived in Tea Country, he was ambushed by a young girl. The result didn't even wait for him to react. Tinuyur punched his opponent's head out of his guts. It turned out that the woman named Sania was the daughter of Tanul. Ximenyi was stunned upon hearing this. Are you sure you have personally appraised it? Tinuyur told him not to mess around. Even Bai Jihu can have a daughter like that. Why can't I do it? Ximenyi looked at Sania in disbelief. After launching the analysis and performance, he froze entirely. Xania's various attribute growths were surprisingly high. What's even more abnormal is that his muscle strengthening skill can actually increase muscle mass by 40%. Ximenyi gasped. Among the women he knew, this woman's attributes are second only to Xiulan's talent. He has already surpassed Xia Yan's potential. If he can be fully unleashed, then she can stand shoulder to shoulder with monster players like Naiden and Jichi. He stepped forward and asked what the other person's main position was. Sania replied that it was a tank. Ximenyi smiled sweetly, looking down at the mark on her thigh. I heard you want to fight me. Then bring your gear. Then the two entered their respective virtual pods and arrived at the arena. Like Ximenyi, Sania uses guns and shields as weapons. The moment he saw her stick out her bottom, Ximenyi saw his shadow in a daze. Sania shouted. He suddenly threw the long hair in his hand. In the blink of an eye, was already close to Ximenyi's face. He turned his head slightly. Chang Mao brushed past his face. Through the blow just now, Ximenyi deduced that the opponent used muscle strengthening. Currently, his muscle value is 72. After using the skill, it increased to 101. Even without the throwing dice skill, this ability value, it is strong enough. Just then, Sania charged forward again. The long hair waved constantly in his hand. Ximenyi dodged while analyzing. The other party's muscle value limit is 87. After using muscle strengthening, it can be directly upgraded to 12. This value completely exceeded Ximenyi's expectations. Moreover, her close combat skills are also quite good. After a brief assessment of Sania, Ximenyi launched a counterattack, blocking Changmao's instant. Ximenyi quickly rushed towards the whip mark. Rush over. The long hair in his hand is like the nimble kunba. He thrust quickly towards her breasts. Sania exclaimed. He quickly twisted his body to create distance. He chose to dodge backward instead of blocking. It seems that he is not proficient in controlling the shield. That's right. Because the tank is supposed to absorb damage. Therefore, compared to weapons, most people are better at using shields. However, Shimin-Yi uses a shield for two reasons. First is based on one's excellent technical ability to anticipate each other's attacks and block all damage. The second reason is based on objective self-awareness. He knew that he was more agile than other tanks, but the strength is slightly insufficient. In other words, Shimin-Ye's weapon combination is not the most perfect, but it was the most suitable for him. However, this style does not suit Sanya. His muscle value is very high. You only need to improve your shield proficiency. Also a very good tank. But his agility and speed are also very high. It's a bit of a pity to wear heavy armor. It's better to keep the current style. Then he wasted such a good skill muscle strengthening. Thinking of this, Shimin-Yi also fell into entanglement. Should he let him continue to be a tank? Still train him to be an attacker. But right now, let's finish this fight first. Shimin-Yi moved quickly towards his opponent, the long spear in his hand thrust down fiercely. This time, Sanya had made preparations for defense in advance. He had to block Shimin-Yi's fatal blow with the shield in his hand. However, he still underestimated his opponent's strength. Under the thrust of the spear, the shield was instantly knocked away. Shimin-Yi's thick, strong hand shot out straight toward Shuangfeng. Sanya was caught off guard and pressed to the ground. The smoke cleared. Shimin-Yi's fist stopped in front of his face, and he only had a small cut on his foreskin. Looking at the proud twin peaks lying on the ground, Shimin-Yi smiled charmingly. My last attack was deliberately weakened. The match ended. Shimin-Yi was very interested in Sanya's performance. He asked if her fighting style was taught by his father. Sanya said he was very strong, so his father made him a tank. Shimin-Yi is the idol of all the tankers, so he has his current fighting style. Sanya's muscle value is very high. When using a shield, she exerts too much force, causing her movements to stiffen. He said his current style doesn't suit the opponent, and he can't quickly change his attack strategy to take full advantage. About to give up the shield and switch to dual guns for close-range damage dealing. However, Shimin-Yi did not finish his words. Sanya directly turned his head to indicate that he didn't want to. Shimin-Yi's fiery temper flared up immediately. Someone actually dared to disobey her. Timur, strong and quick, rushed forward and told him to calm down. He had lived with Zaimanai for 2.5 years. He knew his temper too well. He asked Shimin-Yi to calm down. The reason why the daughter rejected him is because he doesn't understand women's hearts. 1. You know, he is her daughter's idol. 2. And the idol uses the same equipment. It was his lifelong pursuit. Shimin-Yi kicked him directly. Why the hell haven't I seen any Icon carrying a basketball around? Timur looked at Shimin-Yi with grievance. This child regards you as a role model and has worked hard for more than 10 years. Please don't hurt his feelings. Hearing this, Shimin-Yi was stunned. Kai shi jin yan jiu yuzhima gao deningli jile. This is simply my super seed player. He stepped forward excitedly. Grabbing Sanya's shoulders, Sanya, I will take responsibility for you. Would you like to leave the country with me? The person behind me, Xianyan, looked panicked. 2 women, 6 holes, how do you use a dildo? To get this girl? The male lead actually did not hesitate to give up 100 million yuan from Tiandi Bank. It is said that Shimin-Yi first met Sanya. He became very interested in him. After the first encounter, Shimin-Yi was even more determined. His determination to take him under his wing, however, was directly rejected by Sanya, because he heard that the recent World League. If Shimin-Yi gives up the World League and joins Bo's club, then I will join Shimin-Yi's club. What's the point? He might as well use his father's connections. Entering the European League, the opponent's rejection made Zaimanai start to rethink the opponent's value. Sanya is a capable and high-potential player. A transfer fee of 100 million yuan can certainly help him solve many problems. But as long as I give Sanya in-depth training, he can also help me earn 100 million in the future. Thinking of this, Shimin-Yi immediately expressed his stance. He told Sanya, I won't go to Europe by myself. Even if I go later, it'll go hand in hand with you. Hearing this, Sanya immediately broke into a smile. Then it's settled. You can't be like other scumbags. Bring some weapons. Thus, Sanya followed Shimin-Yi back to the country. But Bai Xiaoyan used the excuse of having urgent business to go abroad. We parted ways ahead of time. Maybe he was jealous of Sanya. Or maybe he couldn't stand Yichang Tao Lu Do. Bai Jishu's face darkened upon learning of this matter. Had her cabbage been spoiled? However, Shimin-Yi didn't take this matter to heart at all. His mind is completely focused on Sanya. To improve Sanya's shooting skills, he specially asked Coach Sana to invite the famous marksmanship teacher Marc Sim Blanc from Bigua. Later, at Shiminye's behest, Sanya showed her strength to the other side. Virtual testing room. Sanya asked Shiminye at that time, what monster did he use for the test? Shiminye told him. Salaben Sanyajin should also get a coach. Then he started warming up, accompanied by the sound of dumpling wrappers being taken out one by one from the box. Sanya's body felt relaxed and stretched. He slowly walked towards Salben. Even if the other party has already started to accumulate cracks, he still had an indifferent expression. Along with a laser suddenly ejected. The ground beneath Sanya suddenly exploded. When the thick smoke dispersed, a deep gully appeared in the arena. However, at this moment, Salben suddenly felt a gust of steel wind above his head. Looking up, I saw Sanya, holding a long spear, already leaping into the air. A chilling beam of light from a gun descended from the sky. The monster had not yet had time to react. Sanya's spear has pierced the body. A loud bang. Saloben instantly turned to ashes. This scene directly stunned Instructor Blanco off the field. After the test is completed, Sanya eagerly asked Shiminye for his assessment of her. Shiminye told him not to be arrogant. Just now, during the battle, he used combat to do it. He told Sanya. In the next month, be sure to listen to the coach. Only then can he complete the retreat practice. Sanya said. Didn't you say you would be responsible for me? Why do you have to change my coach right after I return to China? Shiminye told him to relax. Although he was usually busy, he would take training seriously. Only when he is absent will Blanco be allowed to teach. Moreover, Blanco is an internationally renowned coach. He may not even be able to match him. However, one thing he could be sure of was that in the season a month later, they will definitely make him the protagonist of the opening battle. After a month, the 2023 first half season has finally begun. YSM vs veteran playoff team SCBC. The match has not started yet. YSM's starting lineup sparked discussions among the audience. Besides the regular, old six combination, there are many new faces in the team. That's right. After more than a month of training, Shiminye introduced 4 players. He has become the main force of the team. Now YSM's team structure is 3 tanks, 4 melee, 3 ranged, and 1 support. However, this position is not fixed. While using bows and arrows for range damage output, Yin Fan can also use his superpowers to transform into a melee combatant. Chuihe, although standing in the tank position, can also transform into a melee output. At the same time, although Cyan Jishuan is melee, but he had also helped with this kind of lineup that could change randomly. Regardless of team fights or hunts, you can switch freely according to the actual situation. Also, to compensate for the lack of long-range firepower, Shiminye can specifically bring in Shiningshio although his brainstem leads directly to the front door. But with his powerful frontal attacks and superhuman abilities, he can fully shoulder the responsibility of large-scale long-range output. Looking at the players he had personally chosen, Shiminye asked with a smug look on his face. Coach Sana has a good chance of winning this match. Regarding Shiminye's perspective, Sana still admires him, especially the Sanya he brought back. After giving up the shield and switching to a spear, Sanya's growth was astonishing. Within just 1 month, all ability values have been slightly improved. Be aware that the higher the ability value, the greater the difficulty in improving it. But after switching to melee output, Xania seemed to be like a fish in water, making rapid progress. Of course he didn't know. In order to let Sanya change her position, Shiminye had been working on his feelings for 3 days and nights. Sana exclaimed with admiration. Besides Naiden, he had never seen a player grow so fast. Amidst the cheers of the audience, the first match between YSM and SCBC has begun. Unlike previous competitions, Sana did not issue a battle plan this time. Instead, he gave the command of the battle to the players. It's a done deal that he will win this game. The first map of the competition is War Objective. The map forms a pyramid shape. The 2 teams start their strategy from the highest level. A humanoid monster lives on the last level, protecting the core of the underground city. Along the way, there are magical pad-ups that can be used to attack with branches and leaves. And a kind of parasitic I missed. Watching the players battling the monsters on the field, Shiminye couldn't help but reminisce about his days in the dungeon. Back then, they had no information about the dungeon. So it's almost like feeling your way through the dark. He remembered one time, a teammate was parasitized by a mist. This monster parasitizes when it takes 1 minute to absorb the host's nutrients. Then he will completely control the host. When Shiminye discovered it, it's too late. Therefore, he directly beheaded his teammate. Looking back now, that person should thank themselves. At least he didn't die in pain. Looking at Shiminye's composed expression, Dongjun felt a chill down his spine. Damn it, I'm so agitated. How could I have ended up with such a cold-blooded boss? At this moment, Shiminya suddenly called out to Dong Juan to look at the screen, indicating that a big battle was about to unfold. That's right. At this time, the monsters on the first 2 floors. The 2 teams have almost cleared it. To counter Li Nayan's harassing tactic, SBC team has divided their squad into 6 to 5 formations. It also accelerated the progress of clearing monsters. It's to prevent Li Nayan from suddenly appearing and stealing the kill. Just what they didn't expect. The main character of this competition has never been Li Nayan. But she is a favorite student of Shimen-yi, Sanya. The jailer's long spear blurred his vision. Don't put on a brave face without a little hurt. SBC would never dream of this. A YSM that uses sneak attack tactics would actually change its playstyle. Upon discovering Li Nayan's presence, the captain of the first team immediately contacted the second team, asking them to find Zhao Xinghao's hiding place. YSM 6 tactic will fall apart on its own. The second team, having received the order, immediately began to deploy their troops. But they don't know. SBC's plan is not really confident. You know, SBC has always been ranked 5th in BT team. Only the 2 of them would hold off the 5 opponents. It's a bit presumptuous. As for whether it will be successful, his heart was also not at ease as the order to attack was issued. The 2 jumped into the crowd. Cui He, as the tank, was the first to hold off one person. The other 3 immediately attacked Sanya when they saw her. Facing the little wild goose rushing towards him, Sanya calmly took 2 long spears from her lower back. This is the same weapon as Shimen-yes. It can be both large and small just by looking at the front side. Xiao Gagaga's attack was blocked by the long spear. But what surprised them even more was that Sanya was shot 3 times alone. Except for holding the gun with crossed hands. He also controlled some of the jailers. While the 3 of them were shocked, Sanya has already urged the spear in her hand. A gust of steel wind, like a tornado, erupted from the spot. The 3 little gagas were instantly knocked back. What kind of woman is she? She actually holds us 3 back by herself. Renner Xiao Gaga de Huayin Gang Luo. Sanya gripped her long spear and turned her body. The long spear turned into a perfect parabola. Cui He was still standing in front of him. The little gaga who had been entangled with him before hadn't even reacted yet. The long spear had pierced the base of his thigh. Xiao Gaga let out a scream, and just then, a shimmering shadow appeared behind him. The dagger slashed. Xiagaga stealthily concealed herself on the spot. An I-fan committed manslaughter. This scene directly stunned the commentators off-screen. It was originally thought that Sanya would fight her opponent. Unexpectedly, after repelling 3 people, he completed an assist. After the assassination in Nirvana, Sarnia did not stop. He then took out a new long spear. He set his sights on one of the 3 little gagas. The long spear shot towards Xiao Gaga like a fatal bullet. At the moment of completing the throw, Sunia sprints off. Meanwhile, after Xiagaga saw the trajectory of the spear, she immediately took a defensive stance. This shot might be strong, but he is also confident of falling. However, just as the long spear was about to hit his face, Sanya appeared before him like a phantom. The high-speed flying spear was held in his hand. By inertia, Sanya changed the trajectory of her spear and suddenly slashed at the opponent. Xiagaga looked panicked. He picked up his weapon and tried his best to block. However, at this moment, Sanya was like a machine that had gotten its hands on a basketball. Every draw is like breaking through bamboo. Just as Xiao Gaga was amazed by the opponent's speed, Sanya slammed her gun into the ground with both hands. Immense power caused cracks to appear on the ground. Xiao Gaga twisted his body to barely dodge. But before he could catch his breath, Sanya's spear bent. The next second, Sanya leaped up with the help of her spear's elasticity. When Xiao Gaga came to her senses, his combo was split in 2. Sanya looked back coldly. The real hunt had begun. A gun in hand. The world is mine. Sanya, who had finished the kill, did not stop her actions. He flickered. Quickly attacked another Gaga. The hard spear suddenly fell. The explosion from the head-on collision sent Xiao Gaga flying. However, before he could react, Sanya quickly rushed up. It was just a blink of an eye. The long spear had been thrust out hundreds of times in his hands. Xiao Gaga almost became ashes. Zhao Xinghao, hiding in the corner, had been watching intently. The original plan was for Sanya and Cui He to hold off SBC's second squad. Unexpectedly, Sanya unleashed a powerful move right from the start. He quickly sent a message to Lu Jinhuan. Everyone stopped hunting. The opportunity for the fist and shoulder opponent came. At the same time, Shimen-yi, who was off-screen, exclaimed when she saw Sanya's response. Sarnia's agility and skill values unexpectedly increased a little during the battle. It is true, players can indeed adjust their focus and experience. Level up in battle. This is only Kasaniya's first time participating in a team fight. In fact, after feeling the thrill of the kill, Sanya suddenly understood. At first, Shimin-ye encouraged him to become a striker, but he was a little unconvinced. But when he truly became the perpetrator of the harm, he just found out about this. Although this feeling makes excited, but Shimin-ye's teachings, he always remembered. Shimin-ye once told him that if his greed led to the death of his teammates, it would not be worth it. No matter where you stand, you have to ensure the survival of your teammates. Instead of finishing the kill, I thought of this. Sanya swept her bladder at Cui-he behind her. Cui-he was already struggling at this moment. Seeing this, Sanya decisively gave up the kill. He ran towards Cui-he, shouting at him to turn his back. Hearing Sanya's voice, Cui-he bent down, understanding what was meant. Sanya seized this as an opportunity. He leaped forward and charged. Xiao Gaga, who was fighting against Cui-he, was fierce. The only answer to him was the cold long spear, and at this moment, other members of YSM's squad also gathered ghosts. The battle ended without suspense. YSM interprets perfectly with strength. What is a giant rock? Scattered across the western sky. Looking at Xenia, who is sparkling, Shimen-yi smiled with relief. She was a woman who could explain things to me in a way that I could easily understand. It really did not disappoint me. Once infinitely glorious. Now it's all criticism. After the first game, Xiningxiu went to the restroom alone. He eagerly opened the Zhanhua Fengyun forum, wanting to see netizens' comments about him. The result was as he expected. Online criticism abounds. Since being kicked out of the national team, he has become a spokesperson for clowns in online forums. Although he won the competition this time, he was criticized by netizens for only hiding in the back row. Xiningxiu couldn't hold back anymore. He aimed at a group of sprayers. He simply doesn't understand what tactics are. However, at this moment, two voices suddenly came from outside the door. Xiningxiu was completely unsettled. The people who came were two members of SCBC. They casually talked about Xiningxiu, their words filled with disdain and mockery. Xiningxiu couldn't hold it in anymore. He pushed open the bathroom door. About to argue with the two, she saw the enraged Xiningxiu. Xiao Gaga is not panicking at all. He even intensified the ridicule. Yes, he wanted to take advantage of Xiningxiu's furious and brainless personality to create some scandals, to prepare a backup plan for the next matches. However, just as he successfully angered Xiningxiu, the other door of the restroom was slammed open. Xiningxiu's grand slam was hit. The person who came out was unexpectedly Shimin-yi. He, who happened to be taking a shit, overheard several people's conversation. However, he wasn't as foolish as Xiningxiu. He only spoke a few short sentences. He could tell what the other person was thinking. Xiao Gaga was a little flustered. He was about to apologize, but Shimen-yi grabbed Xiningxiu's hand first, and asked him to apologize to the other party for his outburst. Xiao Gaga is fierce. What is this? Xiningxiu is pretty strong too. They were the ones who started it. Shimen-yi looked at Xiningxiu with a straight face. Don't do as I say. Believe it or not, they have enough reasons to slander you. Otherwise, why would you be in the competition? Hearing people talk bad about you, saying it regardless of their resistance. Shimen-yi pressed his head down. He also smiled and apologized to the two people across from him. Before leaving, he also specifically confirmed everything. There was no problem. That's right. Shimen-ye's confusing operation. It is just to avoid being gossiped about. He knew clearly that Xiningxiu was being used. But since he was her teammate, this loss will not be in vain. As he was leaving the room, Shimen-yi grabbed the door frame. She said to Xiaogaga coldly, "Do you know? You guys are very lucky today. Xiningxiu is still on probation. That's why I'm letting you go. If there's a next time, you can figure out the consequences yourselves." Having said these words, Shimen-yi left without looking back. Only a deep scratch remains on the door frame. Meanwhile, Lu Xinghuan is making pre-war arrangements. Although this competition was held by the boss to test Sanya, but others cannot relax either. The map for the second game is Ant Nest. Once, the subterranean people modified ants. This resulted in cheapness. From then on, he would hide at the very bottom of the underground city. But once someone gets close, he will then issue a command to summon the other ants. So that's it. This strategy requires killing all the ants. Just as Lu Xinghuan was discussing the strategy plan with everyone, Xiningxiu's thoughts, however, drifted elsewhere. Although Shimen-yi had reminded himself in the restroom before, he still held a grudge against the SCBC members. Even the laughter from the other side, he thought, was mocking him. With the official start of the competition, both sides of the troops entered the dungeon one after another. Only I don't know if Xiningxiu still holds a grudge. Can you restrain yourself in the next battle?